Hey TNT.
Hey.
So I'm doing something different. I started doing it a few weeks ago where sort of like a pre-show. So we're actually live right now. I want to let you know before you start talking. So we're live and kind of a chance for people to get into the room before we actually get started.
Okay.
And I'll, people will see us coming in, getting, the camera situated, and then we'll start.
The floor is lava. I love the background. Hey, Terry. Good afternoon. Yeah, I had to get my coffee real quick because, like I said, I need to liven up just a little. Look like it's about to rain.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to.
Over my area, maybe. It's getting a little cloudy. But got a big day. Tomorrow's my daughter's baby shower. Welcoming a new addition to the family in May. May is a big month for me.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes.
So what do you go by? And not grandma, right? Do you go by grandma?
No, I don't know what that is. I'm a Mimi.
Oh, there you go. Mimi.
They got these new names. Like it would my grandbaby, like first I was like, she could call me mama because I call my grandma mama. You know what I'm saying? And like my daughter was like, we'll figure out something. I was like, okay. And then so she was like, she started calling me Mimi, and I was just like, I love it. But now I'm figuring out that it's nothing exclusive to me. All the grandmas in this generation is called Mimis. The great grandmas are called Gigi's.
Okay.
The aunties are called TTs. So they just got a new name for everything now.
We let our my parents pick their names. So we got a Nana. That's my mom, and then my dad chose Gimli, which is the dwarf from Lord of the Rings. So we got Nana and Gimli.
That's so cute. Oh, yeah, I guess over Papa, I guess you take that Gimli. It sounds cute. Hey, everybody, Caprice. Good afternoon.
How's everybody?
Kevin, voice of reason.
What's going on, TNT? Glad to see you in the building today.
Yeah,
welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you always be in the chat, but it's better. It's better when you on.
Yeah. I mean, nothing but death can keep me from it. But it'd be a lot going on. I have been like real busy the past couple of weeks. Like I was saying, tomorrow's my daughter's baby shower. I had like a couple of events. I'm a caterer. That's what I do about my business. And so I've been really busy. You know, the cafe is coming in early summer. And so, you know, we went over the equipment list, and I got a sign right in front of the area saying "Coming soon, tailor-made cafe." So it's gonna be right at City Hall, and I'm working on my coffees because I know that's the main thing people are gonna want is a good cup of joe.
That's congratulations. So when is it? Oh, when's the official opening?
The people that are working on the space, like they totally tore everything out, rebuilding everything. So they said look toward late June, early July.
Okay.
So close to summer, but trust me, please believe when it's open, everybody gonna know. I mean,
I want to be there to get one of them first cups of coffee. That's what I want the first in line.
We're serving breakfast and lunch, so I think the hours will be like 8 to 2, which is gonna make it very difficult for me to continue this beyond that point. So give me while you can.
See, you do stuff that will make money. I am so busy doing stuff that I don't get paid for and I lose money on. So I got the blog.
I'm losing money now. Not in this economy. You can't lose no money.
I got the blog. I pay, and then I got some artwork that I'm doing. So, and too many books to read. I always buy too many books and can't get to them all. And, I do collage art. and I'm on the East Side Pride Committee. Yeah, lots of stuff I don't get paid for.
Oh goodness, what an art!
Yeah.
You know that could change. Just
Well,
find the
hopefully.
right platform. I love to see that. I love to draw as well. I don't do it as much. Like my hands are starting to get the tingly feeling or whatever, and I was just like fine precision. But my biological father, he was an artist. Like he could draw just looking at you, and I kind of just adopted the same, talent. But as I'm getting older, I use my hands for so many things. It's just like I have to really be motivated to do it and take the time to do all of that. But that sounds really cool. I love to see some of your art.
Oh, yeah. I'm working on a website now.
Okay, all right.
Cool. Hey, Cincy, where's that going? That your space gonna be at?
And City
The
Hall.
cafe. Oh
City
man, I like
Hall.
that. I like
Hey Nathan,
that.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We just can't see. Your video is frozen, Phil. You might want to
That's
step
not
out
your
and come
choice.
back.
And just to confirm, that's not your choice, right?
That is not my choice. Correct.
Thank God for
I
small
miss my
miracles.
video. I miss
Nicole,
my
you
friend.
said, did I hear you say you're going to become a grandmother?
Yes, it's called a Mimi.
It's unbelievable. Young woman like this, incredible.
Yes. Hey,
Hear
Tanika,
me.
Sandra. Good afternoon, everybody. David. Yes.
Something's wrong.
Anita. Look at pen and paper. You know, I like to lose my train of thought. Let me so I can jot it.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here for the free show as we get ready. Just trying to help Phil get his link together, and then we'll get started. Still waiting for Lakita Cole. Lakita Cole is scheduled to be with us too today. So looking forward to it. Yeah, hey Tanika, what's up, everybody? What's up, Terry? What's up, Caprice? What's up, Vanita? Good to see everybody. Thanks for being here. What's up, Darren? Got to get you back on, bro. Harris ain't here. Oh, Terrace is not here. We had to get you on, man. You know, Fame versus Terrace. That'll be interesting, depending on the topic. What's up? What's up? He said, "Man, hurry up." Okay, we'll try. What's up, Pamela? Good afternoon, Nathan, Kevin, and guest panelists, the crew, as we put it. That's Sean. GNT's with us. Phil is with us too. He's just trying to connect.
I hear like some crowd or something in the background.
Yeah.
Is that me?
Yeah, it's not me. I'm gonna say.
Let me mute.
It's Sean. Are you listening to something in the background or something? What's up? What's up, Regina? What's up, Terry Anderson? Good afternoon. Good. Thanks. Thanks for being here, everybody. About to get started with hot topics, conversation, debate. You know how we do.
Oh, yeah. Let me turn that off. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was my bad.
What's up, John? It's all good. We can still hear it. It's just lower. What's up, John? Tanika Ray, what's the background noise? I think that's on Sean's end, but he's trying to do something about it right now.
All right. Did it get any better?
Oh, we got a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah. I can still hear it though. It's faint, but I can still hear it.
I might just have to mute in between talking because I am in a public lobby. So.
Oh, okay. All good. I understand. Twins starting stuff already, Kevin. Talking about some keep the TDS talks away. There you go. Get them. I'm gonna leave them for you guys.
Can you guys hear me?
He brought it up. He brought it up. He set it
sure
off.
did.
Twin, it's on you now. Wasn't nobody talking about Trump till you came on here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Thank you.
We all good now? All right. Well, I'm gonna put everybody backstage here, and we'll get. That's not it. That's just me setting everything up. All right. I'll put you guys backstage, and we will officially get started. Thanks for spending some time with us on a Friday. There it is. We're all here. Nathan Ivy with you. Welcome back to Hot Mic Cincy. And just so you know, we've got 2 episodes left. That's next week before we take our hiatus between season 2 and season 3. So tap in because we're going to be stepping away for a few weeks. Got a crew here. Sean Martin. Good to see you, Sean. Welcome.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks.
And Sean is he was explaining to us, you might hear some background noise. He's in a public space. So that's all it is. TNT is back. How you doing, TNT?
Hello, everybody. Hello, audience. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good to
absolutely.
see everyone.
Yeah, TNT doing big things and talking about she might leave us. We have to make it work. We have to make it work some way. Phil Heimlich, sexy Phil. How you doing, sir?
Lady, gentlemen. And in the case of some, I use that word lightly.
Okay. And the voice of reason, Kevin Aldridge. How are you?
Happy Friday, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, let me just kind of toggle the audio just a little bit. Lakita Cole is scheduled to join us, and we will add her as we get started. I want to thank everybody. Some folks was with us with the pre-show. We ain't doing nothing. You just get it inside track. We're just kind of talking and making sure the mics are adjusted and the video is correct and you can hear people. But if you want to hang out with us, you're always welcome. Always welcome. So all the people in the chat really appreciate you. Twin in here, Twisted. He already trying to stir the pot, but I'm not gonna let you get to me, bro. Good to see everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you. It's a beautiful Friday, although it's supposed to rain, I think, in the city of Cincinnati, but it was gorgeous this morning. So it says, I'm the troublemaker. I mean, in terms of podcasts, I am the troublemaker. I want to stir the pot and make people argue and fight and fuss and all that kind of stuff. Yes, that definitely. But let's get into it, man. A lot of things have been happening. Wow, we got some great topics for you, including the Farmer Music Center funding. Now, this has been controversial for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that people, even on council, it was split on this. But it looks like the allocation has been made, $8 million. If you live in a city, your tax dollars are going to the Farmer Music Center That's going to be, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, crew, at the site of the old Coney Island. And there's a lot of debate about this. Like, some people are saying, like, how do we have time for entertainment when we got neighborhoods that still need some attention? But I want to go straight to the crew and tell me what you think about this.
Can I ask a question? Because
Sure.
this, forgive me, is it, I haven't been following this. Is this taking the place of Riverbend, or is this in addition to Riverbend?
It's Riverbend.
It's in addition to.
Calling it. Yeah.
So what's the difference? I mean, Riverbend to me usually attracts, top acts. They have, I think, Herman's Hermits and all kinds of groups. What is it supposed to be the difference between the two? And how do you, I'm just asking, how do you economically financially keep two revenues, arenas like that going?
Excellent. All fair questions. And some are arguing, just to stir the part further, is that that's exactly the kind of debate that they should have had in terms of having a conversation with the public before they allocated the $8 million. But to answer your question, to my knowledge, we don't know. To my knowledge, there was really no real empirical justification or argument made as to why this was a good investment. To the
and
point
here's what
where
doesn't make sense. If I heard correctly,
to the point where I believe the mayor and other members of council sort of made a similar statement. But go ahead, Phil and Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm confused about is I thought what it said was it's being built at Coney Island, and that's where Riverbend is. I mean,
yes, Phil, it's a new venue. I mean, that's sort of at the heart of what the conversation has been.
I'm sorry, in place of Riverbend or in addition?
No. That's what's at the heart of the argument is did you need another music venue in the city of Cincinnati or in the Cincinnati area? Now, a few bits of information that I guess I've come into since last time we talked about this. So apparently this plot of land where they're building this is within the city limits. So I know there was some conversation about whether or not it was in Anderson Township or whether it was in the city limits. Apparently where they're building this music center, according to Anna Albee, and it is within the city limits. As far as the benefits, she was saying something to the effect that they've estimated this is going to have like $100 million in economic impact for the region. That the city of Cincinnati would see approximately $15 million in, I guess, tax revenues over 10 years. And essentially what her point was, well, we're giving them $8 million. We're going to get $15 million back of that over 10 years. So yeah, we'll be recouping our money over the first 5, and then everything after the next 5 will be profit. I mean, I guess that's certainly one way of looking at it, but when you are in a position right now where you're talking about, budget deficit and potential budget cuts and so forth and so on, the mayor wants an income tax, which seems like it's going to be dead at least for the foreseeable future. When you're having those kinds of conversations, crime is at the top of the issue that everybody's talking about. You mentioned neighborhoods that are in distress. I just think giving $8 million to an entity that has the kind of endowment that the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra has is just unconscionable. And to sit there and say like, yeah, we do these sort of public-private partnerships, it should have been expected, which was kind of Anna Albee's comment. I think that's ridiculous. I think every project should not automatically be some type of public-private partnership. I mean, especially when you've got entities who have the money and who have the capability to be able to do it themselves. Now, if this is going towards, you might be able to make an argument or some kind of case if you're telling me that this is going to go for roads or infrastructure into the facility that's going to be of a common use by like a lot of people. Okay, I don't know. I don't think we know what this $8 million is going for, and that's part of the challenge. Like if you were saying, hey, this is going to be for some roads or sewer line connections or infrastructure, that's kind of stuff that goes into place. I'm still not thrilled about it, but that's a different, I can maybe get with that a little bit more than to say, oh, this is going to the facility proper to help construct the actual building and some of the things that are going on there. So just a lot of unanswered questions, not enough information. And that's the big problem that I have with it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing people should understand, for whatever it's worth, is the city has a whole bunch of different funds that have specific limits on what the money can be used for. I actually, and they also, and one of those is money that comes from the federal government, and I don't know what pool this money's coming out of, but I can almost guarantee you it couldn't be used. It's some kind of a capital thing. I'll guarantee you it couldn't be used for police, fire, and those kind of things.
There seems to be a huge disconnect. Like from the CDB article I read, Jeff Cramerding said basically that this is something that he just learned about in the last few weeks. But then there's a quote from Anna Albee, who was really spearheading this, and she says, "Nah, city leaders have known about this for 18 months." Like, who do you believe?
I'm not real familiar with this, and just trying to quickly review. I think one of our questions was, will this replace Riverbend, or is this addition to Riverbend? And what I'm reading, it said the new venue is intended to become the primary concert spot, while the existing Riverbend Music Center is expected to transition into a venue for festivals and special events. So that may answer that question. But at the same time, we definitely need a new venue spot. I was just at the Cardi B concert at the Heritage Bank Arena. I hate that. I wish they would rebuild that and do something with that space indoors. But if they're doing something over here, that's fine and dandy. I don't know if this is necessarily going to deal with those type of concerts with the partnership with, it looks like, the orchestra or whatnot. But at the same time, $8 million, that's a lot. But you have to make some sort of investment, and the city's main goal is to grow the city and to bring in revenue. And so if their projected revenue is over 100 million in the annual for their economic impact, 8 million for 100 million, once this is all said and done, it may make sense. It may not make much sense now, but it may make a lot of sense later.
Yeah, I live in Anderson Township. I don't live in the city, so the money aspect doesn't impact me. I do miss Coney and Sunlight Pool. I think that, Anderson Township, where I live, just like they have a $1 ticket tax for Riverbend to go to, I guess, emergency services, which even though it is not in Anderson Township will be responding to emergencies at the Farmer Music Center. I think they should have a same kind of deal with the Farmer Music Center as well. And then it is normal for public-private partnerships, especially when they're going to create jobs and bring in tax revenue. The one thing that I was worried about was the state offered funding for this at the beginning, before the project even started. But now they have approved this $8 million, and they're already putting up support beams and stuff like that, and they've built up the land, and they've already started this project. So why do they need that money after they've already started building it? I feel like this is an ask that should have happened at the beginning, and if it did, have they been sitting on it this long?
We know in the CDB article, Sean, vice chairman, she said the same thing. She was like, okay, I like the idea of it. Cool, it'll be a good project. But she brought up the lack of procedure. She was like, she felt as if this is Lemon Kearney. She wrote basically that she felt like there should have been a financial analysis to show the need, and also to have some public interaction before you just allocate it. And I can't understand how anybody would ever be against that. I mean, that seems like that should be the start.
Oh yeah,
because
that,
it don't
that
make
makes sense.
yeah, right. Going back to what you and Kevin been saying, it's like, how do you justify that? Now, there's a justification to be made. Okay, great. But how do you justify that? And there's no analysis that you show the public. It's very interesting. This, to me, this is the kind of thing, and Kevin's made this point many times, that like turns people off when it comes to local government. They'll look at stuff like this and say, not only was it a misplaced priority, and that's up to your particular opinion, but also you just ramrolled it through. And people will say things like, well, see, when the city really wants to fund something, they fund something, which we all know is true.
Well, there is an opportunity here for, and again, maybe city hall, maybe city council feels like they don't owe taxpayers any kind of explanation, which I think in and of itself is a bad line of thought process if that's the case. But my thing is lay it out, make it clear to the general public what the need is, why we're giving this money because it just sounds like you're giving money to a venue just because they need $8 million and we don't know what they're going to spend it on. Again, if you would lay out the case and say, hey, this is going to be for roads that we need leading into the new venue that will be, city right away or whatever it is. And this is going to offset those aspects of the project. As Phil said, we're going to take this from infrastructure funds that we already had that we couldn't use anywhere else. Explain it to people, but don't just look like you're just giving a blank $8 million check to CSO and Mimi for this, for this center. And if city council doesn't know why they're giving this $8 million, that's a problem, because they shouldn't be giving away money that they don't know how it's going to be used. Right. You had asked the question, like, who was telling the truth about how long council knew about it. Yeah. I'm always of this mindset. I think you can know something is coming. Like, everybody on council should have known, as Sean said, and I think as Anna Albee said, these types of public-private partnerships are not anything new. Anytime we know something is going to be built in Cincinnati or Hamilton County, who's ever doing it, especially if has to do with sports and entertainment, they're going to come with their hand out. They're going to come with the hat out looking for you to put something to it. That should be expected. Now, when that's going to drop on your doorstep is another thing. So it's one thing to say, hey, I know this is coming, but when it actually arrives on your doorstep, did you have notice for that? Or was that just kind of dumped on you at the last moment? It sounds like Cramerding is saying that maybe not that we didn't know that it was coming, but hey, this thing just kind of arrived on us, here on short notice, and we're kind of asked to vote on this thing. So I wonder if there's some nuance in between what Anna Albee is saying is like, come on, man, y'all knew 18 months ago what was up. Y'all should have anticipated this, versus, okay, yeah, that's practical, but nobody is, keeping tabs on when they're going to come for the ask, and it sounds like the ask arrived late, and that's what I'm gleaning from just the reporting that I've seen.
Right. And Phil, what do you think? You was on council, man. Like, if you was on council, this came before you, what do you do?
I have a quick question. If Sean, you live in Anderson, right? You said?
Yeah.
Do you happen to know, is Riverbend in the county, meaning Anderson, or is it in the city? Do you know offhand?
Okay. Riverbend is in Anderson Township, I believe.
Okay. Well,
and yeah. So where it stopped was the pool, and anything like east of that pool.
Okay, so therefore, which they probably did to avoid city taxes. Okay. To answer Nathan's question, everything else being equal, I probably would have supported it on city council. Now, I will say that I think it would have been helpful to find out what alternative uses could the money have been used for. Okay, because again, I don't know what fund it's coming out of, but I think the public should have been told, hey, this could have been used for roads if it could, or bridges or something like that. But putting that aside, I would have supported it, because you're talking, first of all, the fact they're building in the city is very significant. Okay, you're talking about thousands of people coming from, don't just think around here, coming from northern Kentucky, maybe even Lexington, depending on who's performing, coming from Dayton, coming from all in the suburbs of Cincinnati and beyond, maybe Columbus, for big acts. And that money is all coming into the city. So that's why overall it sounds, everything else been equal, sounds like something I'd support.
You know, for me, if there is an argument to be made, they should make the argument. You know, make it. Take the time to make a detailed plan and let people know. Phil, you just said something that I love, man, but I don't think that politicians would ever go for it. You said that they should they should present what the options were. Like, it's 8 million for this or 8 million for that. I think that would be very helpful to allowing people to make better decisions.
And
But
I'm not
it'll
saying
never happen.
name a specific bridge, but I'm saying, okay, this money can be used for this category of stuff,
Yeah.
so people can weigh it more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, new rule. Anytime any kind of millions of dollars are being made, they should always have to come and have at least some element or time frame for public interaction. I mean, is it that hard to get the public together and say, okay, on Monday, Tuesday, whenever we do this, open mic night, come up and we're going to talk about this and then we vote on it? Like, isn't that what they do with most stuff? Why was this so different? I think those are all fair questions.
Well, I mean, look, I'm gonna just say this. You know, it's probably the very real reality of lobbying that goes on at City Hall. You know, CSO is an institution, I would dare say a respected institution in the city of Cincinnati. They have connections. They have a lot of people who support them. And so I'm sure that there was probably some conversations that went on behind the scenes like, hey, and I don't know, maybe they needed this fast track. They couldn't wait for, 3 or 4 rounds of public comments or whatever like that for this to happen. And there was some conversations like, hey, we need to get this thing fast tracked. And, the handshakers in City Hall said, we got you. I mean, that type of stuff goes on, Phil. And Phil, you can attest to this, or you'll probably deny it like all the other under the table good old boy stuff that you want to act like didn't happen when you
I am innocent when it comes to these kind of so-called under the table.
I mean,
things.
You know how the game is played. Some people have more sway in the community than others, and they're able to get things fast tracked and done by lobbying people over.
Kevin, you have that cynicism that's very destructive to our political process.
Hey, it's 25 years as a journalist and a lot of experience. Of seeing how the sausage gets made politically.
Do we know how the votes went down? Like, was this? Sure, it wasn't unanimous, but
it was 5-4.
5-4. Okay.
Yeah, it was 5-4. So you got a split. I mean, a huge split. Like, reading through the comments, it wasn't like a small disagreement. It was like a completely different sort of viewpoint on how to use tax dollars in this moment. I mean, should there be any, if you got neighborhoods that are underrepresented and need city funds, should there be any type of investment in entertainment when that condition's going on? Phil's face is everything. So what kind of dumbass question is that?
No, it's not a dumb question. Again, I wish I probably should have thought about this if we were going to talk about it. But like I said, I do think it's important to just know what uses it could have been used for. Maybe there's a lot of legal requirements in these different pools of money.
All right, let's move on.
To answer your question, and TNT kind of touched on this in her comments, right? So one might argue, you're talking about, is it wise to spend money on this when you've got other neighborhoods that are struggling? So someone's prevailing theory might be, investing in things like this that are going to have the kind of economic impact that might generate the kind of tax revenues, create more funds that the city gets that then they could therefore divert and steer towards neighborhoods. So It's sort of like it's that trickle down, a rising tide lifts all boats argument and mentality. But the question is okay, I might be willing to buy into that, but where is the evidence that any of these dollars that we get that come from the investments in these types of things or the economic impact, where's the evidence that those dollars ever do come back to struggling communities and roll downhill? So if you want to make that argument, fine, but show me the proof of where that actually happens.
I'm with you 1,000%. And that goes back to what Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney was saying. There was no financial analysis done. How do you vote on something with no analysis? 8 million, maybe that's what you do. I don't know. It just seems very strange to me. Let's move on. Let's talk about, man, this is interesting story. The Crossroads pastor is going to be stepping down. I think it's about 30 days from what I remember.
It's
And
30. I think it's a 30-day suspension. Then it's 4 months of leave. Technically,
okay, so 5 months.
I'm
And
a Crossroads person, so I got the letter which led to the story.
okay, even better. Got a Crossroads person with it. Great. We ain't holding back though. But I want to get your thoughts on this. So allegedly, the one of the co-founding pastors, and allegedly this happened years ago. Brian, is it Tomey or Tome?
Tome.
Brian Tome. And allegedly, and it looks like there's more to the allegations. He has somebody, a man, we don't know the age of this individual, was in his office many years ago. And I'm not sure how this started, but apparently he had something in his office that was sort of like some kind of souvenir or something like that, had a whip on it. Allegedly, he took the whip out and touched this other person in their crotch area, and then made a comment about, do you like that? And apparently this person brought it to the church. The church talked with them and did whatever they did and thought it was cool. And then this individual came back to the church leadership and was like, nah, something needs to be done. So it led to this. And how do you process this? Because some people will say, like, look, you got to judge people that work in the church more harshly than other people because people come to them for guidance. And then you got the other camp where people say, well, everybody's human. What do you think in this case? What's your take on this to the crew?
Go ahead, Phil. Give us the
I know.
411.
Well, I mean, I'm no expert on that. I was actually an original member of Crossroads 30 years ago when it started. They were renting People's Middle School on Erie Avenue. I don't even know if it's not even the name People's, but that's where it started. And just so everybody knows, Crossroads was part of this kind of huge wave within the Christian church of kind of getting away from denominational, the organs and, all that kind of stuff, and kind of trying to be, pardon the language, more hip. I mean, like that you had kind of rock music, which now everybody does. But back then, there was Willow Creek Church in Chicago. They were initiated this whole kind of, be all things to all people kind of thing, serve coffee and have a rock band. And the reason, this may be obvious, but the reason is to lead people to Christ. Okay. And the point being that people who are, teenagers or 20s, 30s, that they're not going in for the stained glass windows and the organ. So it's a way to reach out. Okay. So Brian came here from Pittsburgh. I think he was a youth pastor there 30 years ago. And overall, I think he's done, and everybody would agree, a fantastic, fantastic job. And if you haven't heard him, I mean, he is one of the best speakers you'll ever hear. And I would say he shows a lot of humility. He isn't one of these kind of types. He isn't these types where he's kind of acting so judgmental and that kind of thing. He has a great sense of humor. He really does, and he's very entertaining. But he also says some real serious things. Now, I can tell you this: knowing some of the people on that board there, if there had been anything sexual in this, he would have been fired. There's no question in my mind about it. Okay, no question. And it sounds to me like whatever happened, he was trying to be funny. And he has a bit of a sometimes crude sense of humor, sometime. And that's kind of part of who he is. And I think what happened here, it sounds like, is he was trying to be funny and something, it just didn't, it's kind of like some of my jokes on this show. I mean, they just fell flat, kind of thing. And was offensive to this person. And I think the board probably took it very seriously and came up with what they thought was the right, if you will, consequence or verdict. And also, and by the way, I think in the letter it said, I think Brian is speaking, either I assume by video, at Crossroads this weekend to talk about this. But I can tell you that the letter that he sent that went with the letter from Crossroads was very humble. And what he said was essentially, I appreciate what the board's doing. I support it. And he said there are many times that my actions don't live up to what Jesus calls us to. So that's kind of my summary of kind of where things are.
Do you think he should come back and pastor? And if so, would you continue to go to the church?
Oh yeah, I would. Because I mean, if he had like engaged in some kind of sexual exploitation of children or committed adultery with his secretary, which a lot of pastors have done. Okay? I mean, we all know how often and frequent that kind of stuff happens all the time. And let's be honest, there have been a lot of situations in the Catholic Church and also within the kind of evangelical, whatever you want, where they've kind of covered things up. And I think Crossroads could easily have done that, but they did not want to do it. And
Do you
so I
think this?
think I trust them. Let me just say, I trust the guys. I know a couple of them. I trust the guys on the board to have looked at it and to have meted out the correct punishment. And so, yeah, I'm going to continue going, and I will continue going when he comes back.
Do you think what he's alleged to have done, just what we know about with the whole crop or whip or whatever it was in the statement that allegedly, at least it's being reported that he said, do you think that's no big deal? Or is that significant to you? Or
I'm still, I've read all this stuff. I'm still a little unclear. I can tell you this. It's clear to me it wasn't like he grabbed some guy's crotch or something. It sounds like he took it and hit the guy in the crotch and made a joke about it. Okay, that's what it sounds like to me. And this guy was offended, but I don't feel it doesn't appear to be anything more serious than that.
I mean, here's what I would say, Nathan. And I think the word in your question is appropriate. You said, should they be judged? So if we're looking at this just purely from a spiritual perspective, right? Scripture tells us, judge not lest ye be judged. In the same measure with which you judge other people, you'll be judged the same, right? So if
doesn't it say, Kevin? Doesn't it say people in the ministry are to be who teach?
Let me get to my point, Phil. Let me finish my statement, and then you can respond to it.
Okay.
So that's a general statement for all of us, and what that is designed to help us understand is that none of us is above reproach, right? If we do a deep examination of our lives, and if somebody could put an X-ray up to your every movement, your every word, your every action, and put it on a movie screen in front of the world to see, we would all be embarrassed by something, right? Somebody would see something that they would look at and they would say, oh my God, I didn't think that about Kevin Aldridge or Nathan Ivey or Sean Martin or whomever. That's just the reality of the frailty of us all being sinful human beings. Now, having said that, as someone who is a pastor, who is in charge of, or who is a shepherd of a flock, you are held to a higher standard in terms of your actions. In fact, we are often, Scripture tells us, and we're often counseled and told that we have to be very careful about what we say, what we do, because it is a very serious thing if through your actions you cause someone else to fall or to have their faith impacted in a significant way. So that is a serious charge that if you step into that place that you carry. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm any better than you, that I'm not subject to the same temptations, failings, and whatnot that everybody else has, right? I often tell my congregations, don't hold your pastor to a higher standard than you hold yourself, because really we should all be holding ourselves to high standards, right? Just because I'm in the pulpit doesn't mean that I should think of my relationship with God any differently than he does, right? Like my relationship with God should be the most serious. I should be most concerned about my relationship, right? So I don't say that to absolve a pastor from their responsibility. It's more like, as a people, we have a tendency to expect more from other people than we expect from ourselves. And I don't think that's a healthy mentality, period.
So you don't think
But
it's healthy to expect more from your pastor?
than you do from yourself.
Well, you do from people.
Well, I'm not talking about people. I didn't say people. I said from yourself.
Yeah, but that's not even really the question, though, is it? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
not
it
about
absolutely is the question, because
how so.
if everybody held themselves to the exact same standard, we would have a different world.
But Kevin, we're not
Right?
talking about everybody. We're talking about those men and women, in this case, this man who
Mhm.
chose to be a vessel for God. He decided to put himself here.
Absolutely, and I
Right.
already answered that question. I mean, I already said the responsibility and the standard that goes along with that. What the expectation is that goes along with that.
Right.
I'm just making a side point for people who are out there who are listening to where I'm saying that have high standards for yourself. Don't have a higher standard when it comes to your spiritual relationship with God and your eternal soul. If that's something that you believe in, your standard should be just as high for yourself as it is for your pastor or anybody else.
All
Because
right.
your pastor can't get you into heaven. You can get you
Well,
into heaven,
but
Then
right?
why do you need a
I
pastor
do
then?
think we should clarify, and maybe I think Kevin said this, but tell me if I'm wrong. But the Bible, in fact, I think it's the New Testament. I mean, specifically says that though. I mean, when you say we shouldn't expect a higher standard for like pastors, I would say we should, because I think the
I
Bible
didn't say
makes.
we shouldn't. I
No,
didn't say
Oh,
we
okay. I'm
shouldn't.
sorry, because
you
I
said you
think they
should
should be
actually.
held to a higher
Listen
standard,
to
because
the
that's what the
words that
Bible
I'm
says.
saying. I
Yeah,
understand there is a higher expectation, right? And
and
people
should be.
do tend to do that. They do tend to put pastors and people on pedestals and higher things. They look for them for spiritual guidance and all of that sort of thing. And it is a solemn responsibility that comes with that. So yes, to Nathan's question, it is a big deal because of who he is
You said that.
and the position that he's in. As a pastor, you can't be, as much as you might want to be as down to earth as some of your members, you cannot be, because of how people are going to look at you and deal with you and the expectation that's there. They don't look at you as a person like them. They look at you as something extra.
Okay, I don't know what's down to earth about touching other people's crotch. That's
I,
nothing people just do
I'm not,
regularly.
I didn't mean it
But
like touching up. I meant it like it
Yeah.
was clear to Phil's point. It was clear he was trying to do. It was clear he was trying to be funny. It was a joke. It wasn't sexual. It was a bad joke. But it's not unlike.
Is that
I
clear?
liken it to frat boy. I liken it to frat boy activity, right? Like you can scan any number of, because I see this stuff all the time on Instagram where you got these dumb dudes who do stuff. They'll hit you in the shin with a skateboard. They'll slap you in the back with these different things. There are these different
Those are
juvenile.
college students. We're comparing that to the pastor.
No, Nathan, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm
I
not
know
How
what
about
you're
the
comparing
trying
it
to
to
president
the
of
say.
the
pastor.
United States?
I'm
I
saying
mean,
he got
locker room
caught up.
talk.
I'm saying he got caught up in doing something that was juvenile. I'm not saying it was great. I'm saying he had a human moment where he did something that was juvenile and stupid.
That's what it is at best. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a spectrum here because nobody really knows. You weren't in the room. And let me say a sidebar. I don't know, Mr. Brian Tome. This is not offensive to you in any way. I'm just following through the process of talking about this topic. But yeah, Kevin, on a range of what it could have been, yeah, it probably at its most least offensive, it's probably what you say. It was just some little college
But it
prank.
is that, and that's what the letter said about.
But on the spectrum, there's a spectrum there of what it could have been more, could have been the worst. And the worst it could have been was, I don't know, to kind of fishing to see if somebody's, into a certain lifestyle or
I'm just saying it wasn't that, because I know I know that if that had been it, he would have been fired. There is no question.
has
No,
he ever done that to you or anybody else? Is that something like a
no,
common thing that
he
he does?
has no. I mean,
Because I don't
some people are
understand.
a little offended. Some people are a little offended by, he kind of will, he might talk about something like farting or something like that, or maybe he's used the word shit once or twice, that kind of thing. And there's some people who go to church are offended. I kind of frankly like that, because he kind of is like talks like one of us, not like some guy in a robe, who's thee and thou and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
but as far as
that,
this
that was
goes,
my
that
point
sounds
about that was
we've
fine
my
never had
point
and
about the
anything like this
innocent.
before.
comment.
All of that sounds
I
fine
get
and
it.
innocent, but when you get to the level of like you're playing horse playing so-called and you're violating people's space and private area, that's a tad bit too far. And then in a close space between just you and this person privately, it isn't like he did that in front of everybody. Like, oh, they'll know, they'll get the joke. And I wouldn't even tie that to you, Phil. I mean, I know sometimes your jokes fall flat, but I wouldn't even
No,
tie.
no, not that much. Very
I
rarely.
wouldn't tie
Very
in
rarely.
those similarities because I think there's a clear difference of like a person violating your space. These things are traumatizing. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is so far to the end of rape, but when someone has, touched you, unwanted touch, and especially in the private area, sexual private area, and you didn't ask for that, you wasn't expecting that, and then you have to take time and just kind of think like, what just happened here and why? That remind me of like that one actor who said he was grabbed in the crotch by do you remember he was like it was this one player. I mean, he was really buff and strong, and he was grabbed by the crotch. And you would think his automatic response would be to punch the person, but he just
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like,
the black guy I know you're talking about. Yeah.
But by the way, you should note Brian
right.
Tome has already been suspended. He has been suspended from his duties for a couple
Yeah,
months when this came up. It isn't like he's just getting this now. As soon as the accusation or the second time it was made, they, I guess in effect, suspended him or put him on leave or whatever you want to call it until this was resolved.
yeah.
All right, so some perspective from the godless atheist over here. So if you look
Are
at
you talking
this,
about Nathan? Who are you talking about?
no, me.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't know. I didn't know. Sorry.
Here.
but no. So if you're talking about this strictly from he is a leader of an organization doing his job, and this is in his office. I've attended enough sexual harassment trainings to know that, okay, so if you accidentally do something, you say sorry, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, and then you let it go. It's the inappropriate joke that makes makes it the sexual harassment right there. And so, yeah, you accidentally brush up against somebody, you're like, oh, I am so sorry, and then you act like it's not a big deal. But that inappropriate joke, that makes it the sexual harassment, whether it was meant to be
Well,
sexual or
Well,
at all
just
or
keep in
anything.
mind he has been and is being punished. So those of you who feel it's more serious, I mean, basically all you can say is I think he should have had I assume a more severe punishment such as termination. I mean, I assume that's what you're saying, those of you who are questioning that he got off too easy.
I would think so because when he returns, you know, for people in his congregation that may have been uh, victims of sexual assault or any type of molestation or anything else, that's kind of weird. That's kind of hard. And even if it didn't happen to you, it's kind of like a community of people that just, when you've been violated, it's hard to see someone who you've trusted, you believe in, and even, if they have their funny moments and everything else, that they would step so far to uh, violate someone in that type of manner and look at them the same way. If I was a
I,
member of that church, I probably wouldn't be able to continue to go under his leadership
well,
because it's like,
it might be interesting to
That'll
see what
probably
he says.
definitely
It might be
happen.
interesting to see what he says this weekend. And if any of you are interested, I'm assuming they're going to put it on the video of the service, though I'm going to be there. So I think we'll have a better idea next week, of what he says about it.
Yeah. Well, look. Let's just say here. I think we're all in agreement that what he did was inappropriate, and that the actions that have been taken against him are appropriate. A few things, and again, I read these stories a little bit different than most because I tend to ask a lot more questions. One, because I am a reporter, and two, I look behind the words, and whenever I'm reading these stories, I'm not only asking like, what am I reading? What am I not reading? Right. If you look at, and I know Dan Horn, the reporter who at least wrote this story for us, and I've had some conversations with him, about trying to figure out, like, if you hear, hey, the pastor whooped the guy across the front with a whip, right? That's a headline. That's a headline that says a lot in and of itself. where it's like, well, man, that seems really weird. But I think in the telling of the details of that story, it's like, and again, getting to the notion of what was his intent in doing, as inappropriate as it was. Clearly, if it's sexual, if it's a sexually harassing intent, we can agree that that's on a much more serious spectrum than, hey, I'm just being goofy, playing around, and did something that was dumb. So the way it's kind of explained was, this guy comes in his office, he sees that the pastor has this riding crop in his office, and he asks him about it. And he says, hey, what's that? Is that, a horse jockey riding crop? And the pastor snatches it off the wall and he says, oh yeah, you like that? Now, was his intent to aim at the dude's crotch, or was he just swinging it and he accidentally got hit there, right? We would agree that that's a little bit different. Like, hey, if I'm just trying to be funny and pop the whip and it accidentally hits you in an area where it shouldn't have hit you, that's a little bit different than saying, oh, he went straight for the crotch with the riding crop. We don't know the nature of those details, right? I'm saying how the story is told and the details of how it went down looks very different. Something that is just said a certain way can sound very bad, and I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm just trying to say I would be interested in hearing exactly the details of how it went down, everything that was said, what was his reaction in the aftermath of that. I think a lot of that matters, and a lot of that doesn't always come through in the reporting that gets reported.
And no matter what your intent
one quick
is,
thing,
you were responsible for your impact.
My guess is that he knew this
not
guy
saying
was
that,
kind of,
but we have to agree. I'm not saying that he's not responsible for his impacts, but we have to agree that the intent and the storyline matters in terms of how people respond to it. Because right now you got a lot of people like, oh, well, he was trying to do something down low and it was sexual. So it's not a matter of,
and we'll never know.
It wasn't inappropriate, but the intent and the story matters. It does.
Well, I think we'll never know the intent. We'll never know. We'll never have something other than your personal relationship. If somebody has a relationship with Brian Tome and you're like, oh, I know the man. But for everybody else that don't really have an interaction with him, we don't really know what happened. All we know is what's being reported. And I think the impact does matter. Because I'm thinking, like, if this was corporate America and you do this and you walk into whatever and you say, oh, I didn't really mean to hit him. Or you say, well, I was just joking. Yo, you out of here. If this happened in a Cincinnati public school and a kid did that, they get in the call and you're going to probably go home and get suspended. And that's just the way it works. I mean, hey.
And that's what's happened to Brian
did that
Tome.
to anybody.
He's suspended.
And I think this does give like an off ramp for people who do know him and like him, and like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't this and that. But at the same time, it's just like, like people are saying on the outside, it's just, it doesn't smell right, it doesn't look right. And then that leads to the actual victim or the person that is, raising a red flag, like, hey, now you're questioning his intent. So if he didn't take it in a way that said, okay, it was a joke, and he probably just went a little far and was able to brush it off, then, you're saying that why would he want to tear down someone and ruin their career just because? I mean, you'll have to question the intent of the victim. Like, they have more to gain to destroy this person over something that was minor, if it was really minor. But I feel like when people go that far to, like, raise their hand and say, like, hey, I don't respect what was done. I was offended. I was violated, whatever. That's a lot, especially for men.
Just so everybody knows, this was not just investigated by the board. They hired some outside firm that did this investigation over the last couple months while he was put on leave. It wasn't just the board who looked at it.
Initially, it was invested by the. So here's the other thing that matters.
Initially,
if you look at the initial story, remember this guy. Like, some people, this happened in 2015, right? And this guy just reported it in 2024, and he didn't report it to the board. He didn't even report it to Tone. He was having a conversation with a staff member where he recounted this story to the staff member, right? The staff member then took it to Tome and said, hey, this dude told me what happened, you know, what's going on with this. And you got to look at what Tome did. Tome didn't try to deflect. Tome didn't try to deny. He didn't try to kill it. He told the staff member, take it to the board. Take his complaint to the board and have them look at it. The board looked at it, right? They admonished Tome. They thought that that was good enough. I guess the guy wasn't satisfied with that. He wasn't satisfied with how the board had handled it and felt like it wasn't enough. And so I don't know whether he was threatening to sue, whether he had made a little bit more noise, but whatever it was, his expression of his dissatisfaction with how they handled Tome had the board come back and get an outside. So Phil is right, had him get an outside investigation. But at no point along the way did Brian Tome ever try to kill it, ever try to do anything other than accept responsibility for what he had done. So I think that that is important as people are out here painting this narrative about this guy. And again, I'm not his lawyer. I'm not his defender. I'm just trying to be fair. As you got to look at that, that's got to be worth something.
Because and it's the fact that you pointed out, Kevin, it's 11 years ago, and the guy waited until now to report it. I think I'm glad you said that. That's a very significant fact, I think.
What's a very significant fact?
That the guy, it occurred in 2015, but correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't mentioned by this guy until 2024.
Well, I mean, that's how trauma works. I know we're not going to do the whole, you know, if you didn't report anything for years and years and years, it didn't really happen type of thing. Because I think what we know these days is that people hold on to trauma. People don't always come forward, especially when they feel like they're dealing with somebody that's powerful and connected. I mean, we've learned that. So I don't know if a time frame should be connected to the validity of the claim. That's just my personal opinion.
What Twin got to say?
Yeah, what's up, Twin?
Twin, what you got on your head, man? What is that? What is that, bro? Is that a wig? What is a do-rag? What you got on, bro?
This my turban, man.
Okay.
What's on your mind?
Don't worry, you hating this stuff. Hey man, hey Kevin up there. Hey, Kevin try to cap the saver pastor, ain't he, man? Don't no grown man do no stuff like that, man.
Bro, I'm just trying to be fair.
No. I see you try to be cap the saver pastor, man. Don't do that. He's supposed to be laying hands on the congregation. He want to touch a man between his legs.
Hey,
man, you don't do nothing like that, man.
Hey man,
that's sickening,
what
man.
Landis did on Tuesday. Hey man, Jesus brought a cord of whips into the temple, man, and he whipped people. He whipped people out the temple.
Yeah, he was beating them devils out of them. That's what he was doing. That's what the pastor should have been doing. But he want to have a freak off up in there. Man, you don't touch no grown man like that. And you supposed to be a leader of the congregation. You want to touch, man. What, your wife ain't pleasing you? Come on, man. That's sickness, man. These some sick-minded freaks out here, man. And the pastor is making a bad example. You wonder why. You know what? They need to stop drinking in that church. All them beer summits they be having at Crossroad, they need to stop that, man.
They do that.
That's what led to
the
this.
Super Bowl. They don't do that every week, Twin. Come on.
That don't matter. That don't matter, Phil. You probably with it too. You wouldn't let nobody touch you, even though they call you sexy Phil. Come on, man. I ain't with that.
Well, ever since these guys started calling me that, a lot of people have tried. Unfortunately, they weren't the kind of person I'm particularly interested in.
Man, let a grown man come to me, man. I'm laying them out. Man, I ain't about to let no grown man touch me. I don't care if you're playing or not. Come on, man. Don't do that. Even though Kevin want to knock me out, what I look like come touching him between his legs. Come on, man.
Yeah, that would get you knocked out, man. That would get you knocked out, bro. I
know.
That would get you a 2-piece.
Hey, right. Hey, man, I wasn't living in Cincinnati, man. I seen that 2001 Ride documentary. Man, that's sad, man. That's sad. Kevin, you did a story on that, man?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Twin. What'd you say?
I said that you do. I said, did you do a story on that documentary of the riot, 2001?
Oh, who? No, I haven't done anything recently on that. I mean, I know we got some stuff that's coming up for the anniversary, but nothing recently.
Okay. Hey, Nate, it's mind blowing, man. $8 million to that $8 million to that place, man, out there in Coney Island. That's a waste of money, man. When you got landlords out here taking people money, tenants and stuff over there in Evanston, and you can't get no explanation. Let me tell you something, man. They need to do an audit in Cincinnati. That's what they need to do. See where all this money coming from. Y'all got all this deficit and everything, but it's mighty funny y'all blowing money out the ass. They say money don't grow on trees. I can't tell. Because y'all always coming up with some money to find a way to help somebody else out. But, man, Cincinnati needs to do an audit for real talk.
I mean, there's an argument to be made for it.
What you say, man?
I said there's an argument to be made for it. I mean, people. You got Cincinnati-based Uber drivers, Door Dashers, Lyft drivers. They'll be making runs back and forth. That's money for them. A lot of people are going to leave that venue and go downtown, hang out. That's money for Cincinnati businesses and all the people who make money. When that happens. So I mean, there's an argument to be made for it, but I hear the other side too. Like we got too many other more pressing issues. So I understand both sides of it.
Hey Nate, you know how many seats is sitting there? Hey, you know how many seats go be in there? Inside that new $8 million. Because the Andrew Brady Center.
It's going to be 20,000 seats.
Okay, but the Andrew Brady Center said about what 3,000 maybe.
Yeah,
but what they gonna do? Ignore that one? Huh?
No, they both gonna eat. They're both gonna eat.
Man, how much it cost to build that Andrew Brady Center?
I don't remember. I could Google it real quick though, but I don't remember.
Because they could have took that $8 million before they even came with that and took it right there to the Andrew Brady Center. Man,
I mean, but you can also invest in multiple things. You can invest in multiple things, Twin. You can have multiple investments.
But what about these? Hey, Nate, what about these dang on potholes, man?
They're working on it.
That's what they're working on it. But let me go. Hey, Nate, let me go out there to Indian Hill, one of them townships. I bet you theirs already paid. But you come out here to the black men.
You're probably right about that. You know why? You got a lot of money out there, and it's also a much smaller place than Cincinnati.
But we as taxpayers.
They're working on it. They're working on it. They're working on like taking that railroad money and bringing it to the city. They're working on it, man. I read an article in the I think it was the Cincinnati Business Courier, and they talked about that the city department that deals with that is overwhelmed. They've never had that much money before, so they're trying to make sure they get the right procedures in place. Everybody want to know where the money's going. It takes time. It's not a Marvel cartoon. It takes time.
Hey.
They're not superhuman.
Hey, it ain't take time. It ain't take time when they start allocating throwing money to old slumlords and all that. That didn't take no time. It's been 4-5 years since they got that money, right? Huh?
I think that Kevin broke it down earlier. He broke it down. I mean, clearly, and we already know this because we are grown folks. We know how things work. There are some people that can get things fast tracked in the city. We know that.
Back your phone up a little bit.
What you say?
You got like a super close up.
Up a little bit. There you go.
I'm with him on the
look at me.
The other day, I thought I almost lost a filling.
Oh, me too. Me too, Sean. I'm the same way. I hate it
that's
too.
All I had to say. Hey, that was my concern, man. That's all I had to say. I want to just chop it up, vent a little bit. Y'all have a good weekend. Hey, Kevin, it's on, man.
Yes, sir.
Have a good weekend.
Phil is back. There he is. Sorry about that, Phil. Phil is back. Let's get into it. So I know the potholes, I'm like everybody else. But I mean, it takes time. We want everything instantaneous, that microwave mentality. Right. We want it now. But some things take a little time.
Isn't that what the railroad money is for?
That's what I'm saying. It takes time to integrate it.
Like we keep wanting to move, shuffle, just like Phil said, there's money allocated, different funds for different things. And, I think in that whole scenario, what we were talking about earlier, if there wasn't enough information and people had questions about it, then definitely they should not have approved and passed on this money without all their questions being answered, especially, you know, if there was people on council that wasn't sure about it. But at the same time, there's pots of money for different things. And so if it's the investment is worth it, if it's going to bring back money into the city, that's one thing. But it got to be done smart, you know, using taxpayer dollars. We got to be wise. We got to be smart with it, because we can never really be sure what the future will hold, how the economy is going to hold up, and when we may need some. So we can't be just splurging on whatever. So, you know, we got to be responsible with it, of course, always.
All right, let me move on. So, not sure if you guys, if this is on your radar screen or not, but there was an analysis that was done recently about the folks over at the Washington Post, and what they found is that this Supreme Court, the one that in this era that we're living in right now, is the first court since the 50s to reject claims in a majority of cases involving minorities and women. And it was an analysis, again, done by the Washington Post, without getting to all the difficult details. But that's essentially what they're saying, is that, you know, as I just said. And so here's my question for you, and I've read this online in some different places. Are we living in a new Jim Crow era, at least when it comes to the courts? Like,
so that can be kind of I think that can be a bit of I think Black people will read that. They'll read that question and they'll assign it to racism, bigotry. But I think there's a larger question here, because when you do a deeper examination of what the Supreme Court has actually been against, that resulted in the stats that you're talking about, Nathan, it's mostly dealing with LGBTQ issues, not necessarily Black, you know, issues that are related to Black people. Now, of course, there have been things about, you know,
but aren't civil rights? Well,
I'm just saying, you said Jim Crow era. Jim Crow carries a very specific connotation.
You're right.
When you say Jim Crow, you're talking about racial segregation, not civil rights per se. So that's why I'm saying that a Black person looking at that question would respond to that very differently than someone, and maybe even someone in the LGBTQ community might look at that question and say, well, we're the ones who are taking the brunt of these civil rights setbacks. So it's not a Jim Crow era. I mean, most of these rulings that lead to the statistics that we're talking about have been rulings that deal with transgenders and you know, those religious arguments that tend to go around those issues. So I do think it's important that, you know, we know what we're talking about when we say Jim Crow. I do think we're witnessing an era where civil rights are in a challenge. I don't know that I would say Jim Crow era.
And Jim Crow was the fight for civil rights. So yes, it's all connected, Kevin, whether it's LGBTQ or whether it's women or it's
there would be some people who would argue that. There would be some people who would argue that. There are a lot of civil rights icons who have an issue of mixing up, who have an issue with mixing.
And that's for people to come in and educate. And that's what I'm about to do. Yeah. So we got to come in and educate. So it's only one civil rights. There are no Black civil rights and Asian civil rights and gay civil rights in this country. Legally speaking, it's all civil rights. It's all interconnected. It's all interconnected. The struggle for civil rights was civil rights for everybody. It wasn't just Black folks. But I hear what you're saying, though. A lot of people are going to read it and think just Black people when you hear or you read Jim Crow. You're absolutely right about that. But it's civil rights. You can't take, if you take rights from one group, you take rights from all groups. It's not just them. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. Like a lot of people, especially when it comes to like gay and lesbian, transgender issues, they think it's them. And they don't realize, no, you in this country too, you're a citizen. It's you too, boo. It's you too.
I don't understand why are they coming after the groups of people I don't know. It's like the smallest group of people they want to attack. So, like when Ohio was up there, they were making laws about who can play in sports, right? I think there was exactly 6 transgender athletes in the state of Ohio, all of the state of Ohio, and they want to legislate against 6 people. I mean, that blows my mind. I there's better things to legislate. There's better reasons to legislate that will help everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, when I hear Jim Crow, I think of lynching and in respects of like more impacting Black people because that was the era of segregation, and so the only way you could relate that is in the segregation part where people in the LGBTQ community, trans community, are being segregated out, separated from everybody else, and being deemed that um, their participation shouldn't be equal to someone else, even though there's plenty of sports where it's co-ed and whatnot, but it's a tricky subject. And like, you know, gentleman just said, uh, we're talking about a handful of people, percentage, and these legislators are more focused on that with the economy and everything the way it is right now, gas as high as it is, and crime and everything. This is what our legislators is working on, and it just makes no sense. And they're doing a lot of things at the state house and creating a lot of laws that don't make any sense and really to be more intrusive in our lives. I thought that the Republican Party was the party of small government and all these things of fiscally financial fiscal conservatives, and it's just further away from all of that, and they're more intrusive from women's bodies to what we learn in school and everything else more than ever before. And so yeah, they need to take a huge step back. What I see right now is also an increase in white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that, the whole idea of the great replacement theory. And so it's a lot of groups. Someone has said in the chat, it's not good to be a minority right now, whether you're Black, Hispanic, women, what I'm saying, gay, lesbians, just like if you're a part of any particular minority group, especially under this administration, you're under attack, you're under siege, you're losing your jobs. They're wanting to make your life harder, and then incorporating policies to ensure that, and making it so that the private institutions and company, they can let you go and it's not considered discrimination. You could try to go to the Department of Justice, but there is no real civil rights division in that area no more. There is no one to protect you or to look out for you and your needs. So this is going to be a tough couple of years, and everything that African Americans have fought for, in the civil rights movement is all being repealed back, and that's only because there has been a steady drum, a disdain for the advancements that people in these groups have made, where it's not like it's a takeover, but it's actually breaking the glass ceilings. You still hearing the first Black man to go to the moon, the furthest in the moon. You're still hearing the first of things, but for some people that is too much. Like, why? It's like somebody's taken away from them. And the same thing, they do it to our community. They make us feel like we're taking the Hispanics is taking our jobs or whatever, when it's really AI and other entities that are impacting your everyday lives. So getting back to civil rights decisions and the SCOTUS, yeah, it's heavily leaned toward conservative, MAGA, whatnot. They have their moments where they have to be fair if they just going by the law, but at the same time, it's just an alignment of ideology. And right now, this ideology of just like Christian nationalism and everything else that's being more imposed in policy, that's what we're under. And that's what people voted for. I think the society is showing now that that's not what people really wanted. And so it's going to be another paradigm shift the other way when people start getting more of their freedoms back. But right now, that's what we're living under.
Well, there was a comment in the chat like, If it's just a handful of people, then what are Democrats willing to risk everything just for that small group? I mean, as a Democrat, I can tell you, if you don't stick up for that small group that's being bullied, then eventually they're going to come for you too. I mean, so you just gotta. I mean, if they're attacking civil rights of one small group, they'll come for your civil rights next.
Yeah, I think the question is what should the government and even the Supreme Court be meddling in, and what should they not be meddling in? Look, we live in a country that is based on our freedom to live our lives and pursue happiness. And there's too many things that the government wants to meddle in at a low level that they ain't got no business being involved in. I could care less about who you choose to have a relationship with, who you got in your bedroom, or how you dealing with your time. That is your business. That is an individual's business. And the point that the federal government wants to try to come in and legislate against certain lifestyle choices that people have is absolutely ridiculous to me. Live and let live. I don't have to agree with your lifestyle religiously to agree with the fact that you have the right to live with it. I believe in a God that gave us free will, which means we all have the choice to choose. You don't have to choose to believe in the same things that I believe in, no matter how much I wish that you would or think that you should. God gave you the choice to be able to have your own mind and make it up. And the fact that the government wants to try to tell us to make up our minds for us as a society about what we should do in terms of lifestyle choices, I think that's about the most anti-American thing that you can possibly do, and it runs against our Constitution. Now, I also feel very strongly about protecting religious freedom, obviously, in that same regard. People should have the freedom to worship as they see fit and believe what as they see fit. And the government shouldn't infringe on that any more than I'm saying that they shouldn't infringe upon other people's lifestyle choices. So the government just needs to get out of this business of trying to legislate this stuff and let people live their lives and stick to the things that really matter, the laws that really matter, making sure that everybody has equal access, nobody is being discriminated against, right? And that people aren't harming and killing each other, in ways that don't benefit our society. That's what government needs to be focused on.
Well, I mean, this is government, but it's the executive branch. And, the Republicans are very smart people. I got to give them credit. The Republicans are very smart and they stick together. And what we're seeing right now in terms of the federal courts, including SCOTUS, is, the results of a long-term plan. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Back when I was in college, 2 decades ago, I was reading these conservative periodicals, and they talked about what their plans were and what they wanted to do. And a lot of it was remaking the courts. There was a lot of antipathy and a lot of ill will towards some of the, civil rights legislation. And what people just don't understand is there's been a long-term project to roll it back. I mean, it didn't happen by happenstance. And that's why the move that Mitch McConnell made to deny Barack Obama a Supreme Court judge, that's the reason why he did it. Because they have a long-term plan. And they weren't going to let something like procedure get in the way of remaking the Supreme Court. And that's what they have done. They have remade the Supreme Court, one that is more pro-business, one is less friendly to DEI, less friendly to a lot of the bedrock civil rights protections that we took for granted. And people sat back and took their freedoms way too lightly and didn't understand what was going on, getting caught up with dumb stuff about what Hillary said in the 90s and what have black people done for you lately? What did Biden do for black people? I mean, you fell for all this for the last 2 decades. Meanwhile, on the other side, these brilliant Republicans had a long-term strategy to remake the courts, and they've done it. So here's my question. Moving forward, there's been some talk about, and I know constitutionally and legislatively this is possible, that Congress could increase the number of Supreme Court justices. If Democrats ever took like a supermajority, is that something that you think they should push for? Increasing the number of people on SCOTUS? And
I
I
don't
guess,
think that solves anything because that's a never ending battle, right? It's like, okay, this president of one party gets in, he expands the court, and it starts to lean another way. Then the next president gets elected, and he adds one or two more seats, so it leans the other. It's a never ending battle. I mean, look, you hit the nail on the head, and Barack Obama said this: elections have consequences. It goes back to the midterms after his first two, after in his first term, when he lost control of both houses of Congress, which allowed the Mitch McConnells of the world to be able to get in control of Congress and be able to deny that seat to Barack Obama. It's because Democrats did not show up in the midterm elections when they needed to protect Barack Obama's agenda and all of these things that we're talking about here, Supreme Court seats and everything that was on the line. Democrats did not show up and the Republicans did. Just like what's about to happen here in the midterms that we see coming up. Elections have consequences. So losing those midterms, losing control of Congress allowed Mitch McConnell to do what he did and not allow Barack Obama, as dirty as it was, the fact that they had power allowed him to be able to do that and put it on that election. I don't think the Democrats took seriously enough the Supreme Court seats. As you said, when Hillary Clinton was running, we got distracted. The Republicans had a plan. Democrats got distracted. They got into a whole bunch of other stuff, like what you said, this super predator conversation and all this, and they took their eye off the larger picture.
oh, for sure.
And Hillary lost. And now everything that you're seeing today is a result of the elections that Democrats did not show up for. And now you can't cry about the results, because this is what your apathy, your not showing up at the polls, or whatever principle stance you wanted to take. Now you living with that. Elections have consequences.
Yeah, well, I don't know as far as appointing more justices to the Supreme Court, if that's the answer, but they should definitely have term limits, and there should definitely
Totally
be
disagree with that. Totally disagree with that.
I don't think it should be lifetime. No, I totally believe that there should be term limits.
I'll respond. Finish, then I'll respond to that.
Okay, well, okay, let me do that. But I definitely think there should be term limits. We have people on there that are well past expired of just being useful in their judgment and thinking, and just where society is right now. And then the component of being bought and sold. Like, there's a lot of them that are just, I guess they regulate themselves, but that shouldn't be the case. Like, if there's no one to check them and keep them in order, and they're taking money and they're not supposed to, and judges of a lower court have a standard of ethics where they can't even do certain things just for the perception of impropriety or whatever. If they're not held to that same standard, then what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So I think there has to be an ability for them to be removed when it has been proven that they are they have violated their ethical standards, and there should be term limits. It could be term limits of over two decades is more than enough for anybody to serve. A lifetime is never necessary. I mean, someone had just put in their Ruth Bader Ginsburg and how upset they were with her for not stepping down so somebody else could get in there. And now that's kind of, plays into what we have today on the courts as well. So,
well, let me address that. First of all, I think the framers were totally brilliant in giving federal judges lifetime appointments, because it insulates them. Now, you can say, well, Clarence Thomas took all this money, that's horrible, but it insulates them by and large from political pressure. Okay? And that is, if you look at the great Supreme Court cases and the great federal judges, it's a question whether, if they were facing term limits, they could have they would make that decision. I'll tell you why. Or I think his name was Frank Johnson, the federal judge in Alabama, whatever, who made all these civil rights, really strengthened the civil rights laws, and the Warren Court as well. See, the problem is when you put term limits in, even if it's 10 or 20 years, guess what happens about 4 or 5 years before the term limit's up, those guys are looking for jobs. Okay, they're looking for opportunities, and suddenly people are throwing money at them, or at least offering it, because they know, and they know now, or maybe they want to run for office when they get out. Well, they know they better toe the party line as a judge. Okay, so I respectfully,
Okay.
strongly support lifetime
Well, what,
appointments. The reason, excuse me, the reason a lot of people now, like I know Nicole, you don't like the current judges, justices. I don't either, particularly. But I can guarantee. But I'm sure if there was a group that say you were more uh, friendly, or that you like more, you might not be so happy about getting rid of putting term limits in. Let me say something else about the court packing. The court packing is not constitutional. It is true that Congress could do it, but I'm totally against that, because I think it sends a terrible image to the average person out there who sees it's always going to be the party that's not getting the benefit of the current decisions, and they try to pack the court to get more of their kind of people on. That's the reason. It's partisan. It just looks really bad, I think, in my view. And where's it going to stop? Okay, so the Democrats get, or the whoever gets in power next, they want more. Okay, because they don't like the current rulings. Totally disagree with that. I would say, I personally, as far as this whole issue goes, am much more concerned about voting rights than civil rights. Because what is the greatest threat to our democracy now is that we have a president who is doing everything he can to disenfranchise Democratic voters. That's what this whole mail-in thing, getting rid of that, that's what that's all about. And that SAVE Act is all, as you know, basically it's requiring people to have a birth certificate or a passport, and they know that a lot of people who are maybe middle or lower income people don't have that, don't have the resources. That's why he wants to disenfranchise them. So that, to me, and frankly, it's not a black-white thing. It's really a partisan Democrat-Republican. Now, it is true, by disenfranchising all these Democrats, in effect, it affects probably black people more than white, because they're a pretty significant constituency of the Democratic Party. It's kind of indirect. And one other thing that I would point out that really irritates me about this current court. Do you know that? And remember, I had this opportunity I shared last time about questioning Email Bove, Trump's guy who's on the Court of Appeals. I didn't have the opportunity because they shut me down to ask another question. But do you know that the word they use for the people that usually the Republicans put on the Supreme Court, strict, or the Federalists, strict constructionists? You know that term? It's basically saying we agree with the founders. We don't want to add new stuff. We want to stick to the original original Constitution. But guess what? There is nothing in the Constitution that says a president can't be charged with crimes.
Right.
Nothing. And they pull that out of their rear ends. And so when I hear these people talk about, oh, they're strict constructionists, BS. They're not strict constructionists. They would never, ever have come down with that ruling.
So they're bought and sold. Because
no, that's not true. By and large, they're philosophically.
It's supposed to be a nonpartisan, body. And it's very partisan.
They're not paid. It's not a money thing. They appointed people who
are.
I mean, bought and sold. I don't like that term, because other than this Clarence Thomas thing, I think is horrible. But they've appointed people who have a philosophical bent. I don't agree with it. Okay, but it's a very Republican, whatever you want, oriented, or call it partisan, but nonetheless, they have lifetime appointments. They were appointed, and it has nothing to do with money.
And you think they should be there for a lifetime until they die?
Or until they quit.
Because that don't make any sense. Because you can always get a bad actor. You know what I mean? Kind of like what we have right now. We
you put term limits, they'll all be bad actors. They'll just be politicians. That's what they'll be, politicians.
And we know that some of these individuals, their whole job is just to follow the Constitution. And I understand the whole basis of some people not wanting to change in what the understanding of what the founding fathers put into the Constitution, and then also understanding that the Constitution is a living document. So there is room and movement to change because society changes. And so
there's two philosophies there.
That's what I was going to say. Not everybody believes about that whole living document Constitution thing. That's That's
But I
that's
was
a
pointing out the hypocrisy of
It
doing
absolutely is a living document.
It's set in
Yeah.
stone. Who then they
philosophically that you're
throwing
and
this right that
that's
the
the
president can't
dichotomy
be
that you see
prosecuted.
on the court is
What
there
does
are
that have to
those who
do?
tend to be more liberal who take the side that the Constitution is a living document, and I think conservatives take more of the attitude of the strict letter of the law, this is what it is type deal. I think what we can all agree with here, perhaps, even whether you agree or disagree with term limits, lifetime appointments, whatever, I think the selection process is something that absolutely needs to be looked at. I don't know if I agree that the president solely should have the power to appoint the individuals to the Supreme Court.
It's in the Constitution, you know.
Well, I get that. I'm saying there needs to be something that's looked at in terms of the process of how the individuals get on the Supreme Court, and there should be a more rigorous process that requires more, what can I say, consensus from both sides of the aisle on who the candidates are, because you're going to always wind up with a partisan court, right? With the way that we do it now, the court is always going to be partisan. Whether it's conservative or whether it's liberal, it's always going to lean one way because the way that we appoint judges is partisan. The party in power gets to select the judges who are there. That it by its very nature makes the court partisan. So if we want to get the court out of the partisanship business, you got to create a selection and an appointment process that doesn't allow either one of the parties to be able to dominate who gets on. It should be that we're appointing people to the bench who care more about the letter of the law and making sure that we are.
Do you know the history? Do you know the history on that?
Partisan.
Do you know the history? Do you remember Bork? Anybody remember him? Bork was this kind of fairly extremist guy. He was a scholar and all that, but he was kind of extremist. Before Bork, when people were nominated for judgeships, it was based on the fact they were good judges. Nobody asked about, are you liberal? Are you pro-life? Are you this or that? No, really, they didn't. And that was a much better, and I think in some sense I agree with Kev, that was a much better era because it was, are they good judges? But in fairness, what happened to Bork, and this was something the Democrats did, okay, they are the ones who started this whole thing about it's going to be partisan. And they voted him down, not because he wasn't a good judge, but because he wasn't whatever, pro-choice or this or that or whatever. And that's what started. Now, every time a president nominates somebody, all the people of the other party vote against it, all the people that vote for it, and they're constantly asking him, well, where do you stand on this issue? Are you pro-life? Are you this or that? So it's a very unfortunate situation. I just hope, and maybe in that way, some degree I agree with Kevin, I hope we will get back to getting the whole idea of issues and all this crap out of the way and just put people on who are good judges.
I like what Vernon Jordan says right here. From us having a moron in the White House. Many of these discussions would not have ever been thought of before he was elected. As at his core, he is a criminal. And I read that and I think of like how right now it's a word or a phrase, the presumption of regularity, where we're going about things, and that's part of the problem. Like things are normal, and things are, that these politicians and these government officials are proceeding and doing their duty as regular. But even on the Supreme Court, we see that they are taking leaps. They are turning over landmark cases that has been the standard for centuries, decades, whatnot, and just in a total reverse, giving the president so much power that he can almost commit murder and not be charged. Like, these are the things that don't make sense. And when it don't make sense, and it in the overall, and you're supposed to be the greatest thinkers in the land, the judges, and be able to have this type of discernment, and you go about it in a way where it shows that you are biased, and in some cases you may not like me saying, like, almost bought and sold, and to a degree. It's too much money in politics, and that's the first thing. I think first order of business, they have to get the money out of the politics, because these individuals are not operating the same. And even if the tables return back to the Democrats, if we don't get the money out of politics, this assumption that we could just do things on good faith and that these people are going to, we are seeing in real time the worst that our politics can actually get in the corruption era. And I know here in Cincinnati, we had our own taste of so-called corruption and stuff, and people disdained it. But it just amazes me here on a national level. Like it's just like everybody just throwing up their hands. And I know a big part of it is because, the departments and different people on the executive levels are not doing their jobs. So we have a bunch of sycophants and cowards that are not doing their job to hold accountability. But this is not normal. And so we shouldn't act as if it is, and we shouldn't restrain ourselves under the same rules as if, things are being done in a normal sense. This is not the presumption of regularity. So we have to move differently, do things differently. We have to, utilize the tools that we do have and get people out. And people are just like far-fetched, like this has never been done before. It looks bad and that's such a negative thing. But what else are we supposed to do other than just, ride this on out until our country falls apart, our democracy falls completely apart? Like, we have to do something. I believe in the power of the people.
We gotta vote.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
We gotta vote. I don't agree with Phil telling me that I can't worry about civil rights and voting rights. I have to concentrate on voting rights only. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm saying that the greater fear, the greater concern is what I was saying today is
they're
voting
both
rights.
Great, Phil. Don't do that. Don't do that.
But they sort of come together because the people who are being disfranchised are going to be largely African American people because they're a major part of the Democratic constituency.
Well,
sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
We do need to make sure that people are getting out there and voting, because and especially for judges, because your local judges, those are the ones that get on the courts and get the experience, and then we vote them to Ohio Supreme Court and that kind of thing. And then that is the pool of judges that they, the greater pool of judges that they choose these Supreme Court judges.
Not normally, not necessarily.
Well, they can, yeah. I mean, he can appoint. The president can appoint anybody to be.
I'll tell you something. Sean just brought something up. I have always believed against judges running for election. You talk about money and power influencing the judiciary. I've always been against that, even though I thought most of the judges I practiced in front of here were pretty good. But the idea of judges running and having to raise money, I think, breeds corruption.
But until that stops, you got to pay attention to who those judge candidates are and vote accordingly. And people need to get out there and vote. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't disagree with what Sean says, but I know, again, just from having been around for a while, people have a hard enough time keeping up with their local city council races. Hardly anybody pays attention to these judges' races. They just don't.
Because they're not lawyers. How do you judge? How do you tell if a judge is a good lawyer if you're not a lawyer? That's why.
Yeah, I mean, most people are not examining or looking at how these judges are ruling in the dozens of cases that they look at. Most of the time when they go to the voting booth, unless it's somebody kind of high profile, you don't know the names that are on there when you're voting. So people, it's tough. And I think there has to be a lot more, voter education and a lot more, people paying attention, to those sorts of things. If you're going to see, Sean, the kind of change that you want to see, but I just know that people aren't checking for judges' races like that. They're just not.
Yeah. Tony writes, the greater fear is that we have a commander in chief that is mentally unhinged, not degenerative like people would say Biden was, but actually nuts. He writes. Agree or disagree with that, panel? What do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely unhinged. That Easter morning text or rant that he had, like,
Read, yeah.
I had a video of someone like reading it like a dark Sith Lord. It was just like so crazy and out of nowhere. And then just to like threaten to annihilate a whole civilization. Like, where in the world, what is on his mind? What did he think? And it's a war crime just in even that threat of saying that. But it's such a disappointing and just an embarrassment to our country and where we stand in the world and how we're moving in this war right now with Iran. Is just like it's a complete embarrassment. But I've been questioning his faculties a long time. I mean, he's like knocking on 80. What do people expect? But just in his rants and when he's out, talking to people and he can't stay on subject. And when he's actually on the teleprompt, he sounds normal. But then people are like, oh, but he's so, low energy and stuff because he actually has to read. You know what I mean? But when you just let him go off the hand, he everywhere. Like, does that really make sense to people? Does that really, exhibit leadership? Or that's the person you want running this country and having their hand right there on the nuclear buttons and stuff like this every single day? I think he just raised the level of anxiety of everyone in this country because we don't know if we're coming or going. And then after it's all said and done, just the mess of having to rebuild relationships and rebuild on, just the money that is being lost. Like, we are losing so much money daily, billions, trillions in a deficit. Like, my grandbaby, her kids, they're going to be paying for this for a long time. And it's just like people, what I'm saying, not taking that into real consideration. Something wrong with him, and why we won't evoke the 25th Amendment, or I guess when the Congress turn, hopefully, and it sounds like it will. If they don't have the guts to impeach him, I swear to God, what I'm saying, I'm gonna throw my hands up with this party because they get into power and then it's just like they again want to do the presumption of regularity. Like, oh, we're gonna just soft pussy toe on these issues when you got to come with it. Like, you better fight and you better get accountability and get things in order. Like, that's going to be, you can start by repealing a lot of things that he's done, these tariffs, get our money back, all of this, it's going to be a lot of work to do, but getting these sycophants and these individuals that are corrupt and all the money he's making. So he sees the country, we suffering, and he's so far from like the everyday pain of the everyday man and woman in America, like, because they rolling in millions daily just from the stuff that they don't even supposed to be doing.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all.
And it's just laughing all of our faces.
That's all I got. And I appreciate it. We were trying to hook up with Lakita, but she has some other stuff going on. I told her I totally understand. So hopefully next week we'll catch up with her. But is there anything that anybody on the crew wants to talk about that we didn't hit?
Oh.
Nah. I mean, I just to go back and put a bow on my thoughts and comments about when we were talking about the good Reverend Tone. I want to make it clear that yes, what he did was inappropriate, should have been punished. Ministers are held to a higher standard. You have to be aware of how you conduct yourself, how you deal with other people, because people are definitely looking at you. And I think TNT made the point earlier that invariably they probably will lose some members at their church as a result of that. Some people who were who may be dealing with some traumas of their own and who might have been triggered by that incident. That these types of I don't know if you want to call it a scandal. I don't know if it rises to that level or not. But anytime you get into a situation like this, invariably there are going to be some people who are not going to want to be attached to that or to that individual. So he's going to pay a steep price in that, and appropriately so. But on the second piece of that question that you had, Nathan, I think it was something like, or should we show him grace? And here's the thing that I always say, grace is not necessarily the fact that you don't get punished, right? But grace is the notion that you can allow people to recover from whatever situation that they've been in, right? That you can allow them to recover from that and not punish them endlessly. So I think the question for everyone else will be, is this something that, okay, he did it, he took his punishment, he's back, and are we willing to extend grace to allow him to try to rebuild his reputation, or is this something that people are just going to hold over his head, from now until forever? And so I think that's the question, the second part of that question. I'm always one who believes that we should try to extend grace to people who are, truly remorseful for the things that they've done and try to seek reconciliation, which he has said he was going to do. And I think that that's all any individual who finds themselves in an unfortunate situation like that can do, is to try to make amends for it, rebuild, and move forward. And so, yes, I think everybody is, to some degree, is depending on, the steepness of your violation, obviously, should be afforded grace. And I think he should probably get some in this situation.
Does that grace include coming back and being pastor again? I mean,
no, like I said, sometimes grace and consequences that you receive for your actions are not necessarily the same thing. So grace doesn't mean you get to come back to what you had. You don't get to that's there. We all face consequences for our actions, right? So grace is not the absence of facing consequences, but what it should be the absence of is continuing to punish individuals beyond what they've already paid penance for. If that makes sense. So in other words, if you commit a crime, you go to jail, you serve your time, you should be given the grace of being allowed to reintegrate into society. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen a lot. It's very hard for returning citizens, for people to forgive them and look past what they did and give them the grace to be able to reintegrate in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not coming back to where you were. I mean, if you were the CEO of a company and you embezzled, you go to jail, probably not going to get that job when you come back out. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't get a job, right?
Understand. Rose writes, until people stop voting straight ticket for council, nothing will change. You guys agree with that? She on to something? Hello, Rose.
Straight ticket for council. I mean, it really depends on the individuals. Like if people would take responsibility and educate themselves about the candidates, then we would have that. But it's not to say that the ticket always get everyone in. There's been a few cases where, that ticket didn't save everybody. So it's really on the candidates that's running and the effort they put in on their ground game to really get people motivated about their campaign. And then it's the work of the community to get yourself educated about the candidates. And, sometimes that work is outside yourself. You need to work with your family, talk to your friends, get people inspired to get them out to vote. And you know who those people are in your families and your circles. So we all got a part to play on that. But I don't think anything is too wrong with the tickets, because sometimes, the little cheat sheet or whatnot, there's still a choice to be made. And some people follow it, and some people don't.
Yeah, I am for educating yourself and not voting straight ticket if it means okay, for an example, I'm a Democratic precinct executive, right? I feel represented by Republican Bill Blessing up in the Ohio State Senate. Okay, he's an advocate for public schools. He proposed legislations to create free school lunches and stuff like that, and I think he's doing a great job up there, and he's really thinking about actual problems to solve that affect everybody, and that's what I'm looking for. Now, in my precinct executive capacity, I want you to all vote straight Democrat. But personal Sean capacity, um, I want you to really do your research.
And being a part of the NAACP for over 15 years and being their political action chair, one of the things that we always did and we always do is create these candidates forum and these candidates flyer, which was something that I did personally, where we are nonpartisan, so we have to show both Republicans and Democrats on our flyers, and we show their faces, and we list their parties. And there will be times, and I'm often at the polling places on election day passing out our flyers, and there would be somebody from the Democratic Party right there. And people would deliberately like, "Are you with the Democrats?" No, we're the NAACP. I showed them our flyer, and they just like, "I just want all Democrats." You know what I'm saying? And they'll just bypass me, even though we the NAACP. But it's just like, or it's been times where people have like seen Republicans and they looking at me like, "Why do you have," you know what I'm saying? Any of the, but we explain we're nonpartisan, and we give people a choice. That's just my point, to look at both sides and knowing who's both running for office in that respect. So a lot of times, if our members, our volunteers are out there in the field, we're providing information where there is a choice between the candidates, and it's not straight ticket. And there's a lot of information out there that's being passed out on election day during early voting, and people still got to make a choice of which way they're leaning. But some people know what they want, and you just can't knock them for knowing what they want.
So when they say straight ticket, are they talking about voting for one party, or are they talking about voting for the slate that gets put out?
I think he's talking about the slate. Or I think she's talking about the slate. That's how I read it.
So I think that's bad. I think voting for the straight slate that the Democratic Party puts out, I don't agree with that. I think if that's your default setting, that I'm going to take whatever the Democratic Party spits out and that's how I'm gonna vote, I think that's bad. Because there may be candidates that don't make it onto the Democratic slate for whatever reason. And let's not pretend like there's not politics that go on with inside the party that eliminates some people and give other people favor. Right. So I think voting for your party, which I understand most people are going to vote for individuals that they feel like align most with their worldview and their political leanings. So I'm less critical of people saying, "Hey, I'm a Democrat, I'm voting for Democrats," right? I'm less critical of that than I am just saying, "Hey, I'm just going to take what the party feeds me and go with that." Those are two different. It might be splitting hairs, but there's a difference there to me in that, because I think this go around that there were some decent Democrats who ran for city council who didn't get a look because they wasn't on the slate. They didn't get a serious consideration because they weren't on the slate. Had they been on the slate, they would have gotten elected. They would have gotten elected too. And so
it was on our slate. We had if you was not endorsed, but you claim to be Democrat. I mean, we took the time to research who was an independent, even though I don't think it's any such thing as an independent. You either an independent Democrat or independent leaning Republican, but I digress. We had that all on our slates. We went door to door neighborhoods. That's why it's so vitally important for us to have volunteers. More boots on the ground, more people that we could get out to our community, because people trust the NAACP for the most part. And we're a trusted voice in the community. And so, especially in our community, and getting that information out there is vital, and showing them that they had options outside of, the Democratic endorsed, slate is one thing. But, being at every polling location, like that takes an army, that takes work, you know what I'm saying, to give that information out to people. Because for the most part, people took our literature and they took both, you know what I'm saying? But at least when they went inside there, they could see like, okay, they say this, but there is another Democrat here and she looked like this, you know what I'm saying? So, but like I said, it's on the candidates to do the work. They got to get out there, get their names out there and be known. And then people got to pursue information and education on these candidates. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do.
It's different. So there are two things that I think would change the nature of local elections, and neither of them are going to happen. So I'm probably wasting breath here, even expressing these ideas. One, we talked about it earlier, the money. The money is a big part of the politics. Like TNT just said, It takes an army. It's a lot of work to get out there, to get your signs out there, to get mailers, to get on TV. And it takes money to do that. An insane amount of money, in my opinion, for a local city election for a city the size of Cincinnati. Whether you're talking about the mayor's race or council, I think the money is one of the things that creates the challenge that makes it hard to get the kind of change people want. The other thing, I think the fact that city council races are partisan is another thing. And I'm not just saying this about Cincinnati. I kind of feel like this about municipal elections in general. And I already know what people are going to say. But if you look at this last election, it was more decided on national issues than it was local issues. People weren't voting based on trash pickup, snow removal, potholes in your streets, economic development and jobs. People voted Trump MAGA. They voted national issues, and that's what a lot of people base their votes on. And the candidates played on that. They played on the MAGA narrative. They played on, hey, you don't want ICE coming in here. They played on these big national issues. And what do we hear people complaining about all the time? We hear people complaining $8 million going to Riverbend 2.0. Potholes ain't fixed. Where's the railroad money? People are talking about, complaining about local issues, the police chief. All of this stuff is local. But that wasn't what voters decided this election on. They decided this election on national politics. And to me, that is one of the problems of the partisanship of local elections, is it needs to be more about the local issues and where the candidates stand on that. I don't care if you're running for city council where you stand on abortion, because you ain't got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't care where you stand on, most of these other issues that candidates get asked about that you have no sway over except for passing some kind of little symbolic resolution at city council to say that you behind something. That is meaningless, right? Look at the local issues that matter to you and judge the candidates on that. That would get you more change from city council. But so eliminating the partisanship and doing something about the money. Those are two things that'll never happen. And so that's why you'll probably never get different results.
Lakita Colas joined us. Hey, Lakita.
Hey, how are you? I see Kevin's on fire.
Yeah, Kevin's on fire doing his thing. What were we talking? We were talking about, I think we went back and started talking about the $8 million they got allocated for the
I did want to say something. I know Nicole said something about independence. There's no such thing of an independent, and I guess I'd have to disagree, because there are a such thing as an independent, because, and yeah, you may be leaning this way or leaning that way, and the reason why it's independent, because you don't always have to lean a certain party. You're not always leaning Republican, not always leaning Democrat, and that's why you're independent, because you can make a decision based on the issue and not on the person. And that's what makes, in my opinion, a person independent, because you're not going to vote. Well, I got to vote on this because this is my counterpart. This is my, they're Democrat, so I'm going to support because they're Democrat. And that's not the case. And I think just chiming in on what Kevin was saying, you're absolutely right. I think we fall into a pitfall when we worry about those that are endorsed by a certain, when you have that endorsement card, because there are politics that play a part. There are some things that happen behind the scenes. And I think we have to be smart enough to vote on the person and not necessarily a political party.
Yeah, where I disagree is what my point in saying that is the issues. And a lot of times when we're talking about certain issues, it's more of a liberal idea or a conservative idea. And so when you get to those, you can provide me an example of an independent idea that is something that we debate about, okay. But most of the time it falls into those two faults, and people have to make a decision. Yeah, you could waver back and forth, but for the most part, you lean the majority one way or the other. Maybe more one side of your interest lies with this party, but you can always go back. If I'm the same way, it's been Republicans I vote for, but I still feel like I'm more Democrat. I never, had an independent independent candidate that spoke to issues that was outside of like what is the normal issues of the day between what is conservative and liberal ideas. So that's what I mean by that.
I get what you're saying. Because the reason why I say that, because there's some issues where you get Democrat and Republican support, and so where is that when you get both, like the person that is it Sean that
Sean?
Sean was talking about.
Me? Yeah.
Yeah, that you talked about the representative. I mean, we would say that guy's a Republican, right? But many of the things that you were talking about, that he support free school lunch, all those things, right? Those are we would say they're Democratic things, right? But sometimes when you have an issue that gets both parties involved, I wouldn't necessarily it's a Democrat or Republican. It's just an independent thing, and it's the right thing to do.
As far as
Yeah.
bipartisan support by both
Yeah.
parties, because the idea makes sense on both sides. But
Right.
like I said, there's pieces that you pull out that is, like you say, these are more conservative ideas, these are more Democrat liberal ideas. And sometimes both parties, which we would like to see more of that, can come together. You know what I'm saying? Our legislative body would be much better if we learned the word compromise. Somehow we made that a dirty word, but we don't do enough of that. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I think people get too caught up in party identity when it's really, like someone said earlier in the chat here, it's about our interests and where we
I
align
agree.
and what we care about, the things that we care about. And so, people try to, order this big disdain, like, oh, Democrats, this, blah, blah, blah. And Republicans, this, blah, blah, blah. And they think they safe in the middle as being an independent. Like, I'm neither nor. But when it comes down to, you have to make a decision one way or the other on these ideas, you'll find where you lean. But if that, but if that's a safe place for people to feel like I'm not this and I'm not that and this is whatever, okay. But to me, we still operating on the same playground.
To me, I think it's not the nature of the slate. It comes down to money to me. I think that's the number one issue. Local, state, federal. I think it's a money.
Yeah,
money.
local. I will tell you, as a precinct executive, we work a little harder out there in the suburbs, just because Anderson Township, traditionally a red area, okay, and so you got your Cincinnati precinct executives. They don't have to, like, I've talked to some and they're like, you knock on hundreds of doors yourself. You spend $300 of your own money to send a personal letter out to voters. I'm like, yeah, because we need that extra push out here. And so, yeah, it is important to be independent. So, but like, you can be independent, but you don't get help from those built-in volunteers like me. If you do not pick a party to run with, unfortunately, because there's no organized independent party. I think the closest one, if you're truly independent, there's no organized party with built-in volunteers ready to go, ready to knock on hundreds of doors. And I mean,
What in
since you
Cincinnati there is, we call it the charterites.
oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the charterites are they're made up of both, so they're more independent.
Okay.
Charter is tough these days, though.
Yeah, charter is going down tremendously, but people don't realize we got the first African American woman from the charter. We got the first African American mayor from the charter. So, I mean, we want to tout the Democratic Party, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah. I mean, charter has a great history, and they had their, I think they're great for Cincinnati, but I think charter got to do something different. In these partisan times, you might, like, independent is no man's land these days. And I'm not saying that charter has to pick a side, but I think the principles and things that charter stands for, like, they got to be out there more. Like, the only time you really kind of hear from charter really is like around elections. Like when you think about it, like where is charter present in the day-to-day conversation
They
about?
become defunct. Correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they gotta, if charter is gonna be relevant in this new reality that we in now, they
They
gonna
need
have
money.
to come up with a
365 days in the year.
game plan.
Gotta be out there.
They need money. It's a money issue. If charter had more funding and backing, they could put all that stuff in play. You know, put some real money behind some year-long staff. Okay, now put some money away for marketing. Yeah, now they can keep a presence out there. It's all about the money. Hey, listen, I want to play a clip for you guys. You may or may not have seen this before. There is some extreme language in this, so I apologize ahead of time. But this has been circulating on the internet. Check this out.
Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years. Especially the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon. Because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They're stupid people! They know it, the families know it, and everyone else knows it! Look at them! Pass!
This is a creative named Danny Delano, and basically what he does is he dresses up in his Darth, I get that Sidious costume, and he reads Trump's Truth Social post.
Jobs, troublemakers, and they'll say anything necessary. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner was tortured.
He is stupid. I don't know how he came up with these ideas, but a little levity. I mean, there's so much going on. He's pranking Trump through all of his Truth Social.
Hey,
He puts
as
the voice and everything in
a
it.
diehard Star Wars fan, I find that insulting for Emperor Palpatine. If I was Palpatine, I would be offended. Like, don't even put me in the same category of evil as
Yeah.
so don't even put me in the same category of evil as Palpatine.
Yeah. Trump's comments could definitely been read by a Sith Lord. Like, that's the type of darkness that has you think like, what is on this man's mind to write and say the things he say and to put a face on it like that. Now it makes sense. Now I will not be able to unsee that face when you read True Social. Just have that voice in your head, like, wow, the darkness is among us. I don't know, but that was really funny.
Got another video for you. This is from, I'm sure you've seen this at this point, but Megyn Kelly, she went off. She said she's sick of this. Speaking of Donald Trump, you know, she's been a Trump warrior supporter from day one. Let me see if I can make this a little bit larger so people can actually see it if you already missed it. She curses a little bit in this, so just give you a heads up. But this is Megyn Kelly going in.
I don't think they had to kill 65,000 people.
One second.
I don't think they had to kill 65,000 people.
There it is. Check.
As of this broadcast, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. And President Trump this morning on Truth Social was not mincing words. I mean, truly, just taking it to the next level. Quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran." Now, as you can imagine, that post did not go over well with the Iranians or with many Americans. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, I 3D chess. Shut up. Fucking shut up about that shit. You don't threaten to wipe out an entire civilization. We're talking about civilians just casually in a social media post. You know, like I am the first to try to understand Trump and his strategy and to not freak out over his weird social media posts and language that is loose and incendiary. Truly, I've lived with it for 10 plus years. I learned it the hard way when I was on the receiving end of it for 9 months. And truly, I think that was a gift to me in many ways because it helped me really come to understand what he does with his social media. But this is completely irresponsible.
She said, I'm sick of this ish. She's sick of it. And I started thinking, she went in. I thought, now you're sick of it? So to the panel, I'm not going to assume that you are sick of it, but assuming you are sick of it, when did you first become sick of Trump's ish?
When he got elected?
Yeah, immediately.
You came down that elevator, the escalator. Like,
See, that's the thing I don't like. It takes something happening to her personally to start to care. And that's the difference between like her and me. I care before something happens to me. I care for other people.
Now, you're pointing exactly why I say what I always say about miss me with that. You know, I know Nathan is like, hey, let's invite him back into the barbecue. All of these regretful Trump people. Let's make them feel at home. Let's welcome them back. No, yes. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm glad that you finally come to your senses, but you don't get any brownie points or gratitude from me for that, because thanks to your whatever you want to call it, blindness, ambivalence to what the man was doing, or because he was serving your purpose, you don't get to come back in now and shed a few crocodile tears or drop a couple F-bombs in your frustration and it's all good. No, you are part of the reason why we are in this situation that we're in. And you had all of this information. People tried to tell you countless times, no, that was your guy. 34 felony convictions wasn't good enough. Grabbing women by the coochie wasn't good enough. January 6th wasn't good enough. All of that stuff, none of that was good enough to convince you that this dude was bad news from jump. The birtherism with Obama wasn't enough. The repeated racism, the Central Park guys, none of that was enough evidence for you to say this guy is bad news. And now you want me to feel some kind of way towards you, like, ooh, atta girl, like you suddenly on the team? No.
Yes.
You're still on the enemy's team. And you don't get anything for that. I'm sorry.
Didn't she make excuses for Epstein?
Go ahead.
Didn't she make like excuses for Epstein? Like, you know, well, the girls really wasn't young girls or something. She had made some sort of comment like that. Like, so is this comment on his Truth Social that was the straw that broke the camel's back? I mean, remember when she did what was that? It was like a debate, and he was like, blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her, you know what, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just like he already like talked to you crazy and doing crazy things against women, and like as a woman, you ain't stand up for women. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yeah, this situation now is very bad, and that was crazy what he said. It's like, this is the final straw for you. Give me a break.
Yeah, I don't know how to make friends. It ain't perfect, but if somebody makes a conversion and wakes up, now I guess she's Megyn Kelly is woke now, right? Okay, great. I don't care what time you woke up as long as you woke. So, but I hear you though. We already know what this game is, Kevin. Like, she'll say that now, but she's still on the Trump team. We already know, but I'll take small little victories anywhere I can get them, just to remind me that sanity is still a thing. So, you know, hey, you know,
late to the party.
But you know, this was better than the alternative, I guess, for a lot of people. So hey, people can to make their decision. Again, we're just kind of having a conversation. I don't really want to hold you guys. I mean, if there's anything else that you think needs to be talked about, I'm here for the conversation. We didn't get to all
I
the
like
topics
this
here.
Kevin. I like it. I like this new Kevin. Kevin been going off today.
Where he is.
It happens
right there
every
for a
now
few
and
weeks.
again. Hey, I did want to bring up, because I mentioned this in the text, because I do think it's interesting with Mexico now talking about getting universal health care.
Yeah.
The president announcing this. And it's interesting that the United States is the only country now in North America that doesn't have universal health care. We got universal health care at the top and at the bottom of us, and in the dead middle, and where the most prosperous and supposedly most powerful nation on the planet, we can't get universal health care for people. And I get the population is different. I think you're only talking about 120 million people in Mexico compared to, probably 3 times that here in the United States, or roughly that. But still, if they can make it happen, if Canada can make it happen, there's no excuse why the United States can't make it.
Right.
Absolutely.
We're too busy paying to unalive people in the Middle East right now. We can't pay for universal health care. I mean, that's what's going on with, yeah.
Well, the president say universal health care, but he did make a strong argument that he's all about, we need to reallocate funds straight to the military. I mean, I've been a supporter. This is when they call you a socialist and a progressive. I've been a supporter of this for as long as I understood politics, 30 years. Yeah, we should have universal health care. People not going to like this, but going to college in America should be free. And the minimum wage, federal, state, should be a much higher. And yes, and we need some regulations to make sure that people aren't being taken advantage of by capitalism. It's just a fact. I'm not anti-business, but I understand that when more people have more, those are the best times. The best times is when everybody on a block is eating, when everybody got health care and everybody is able to work and have some money come in and enjoy their weekend. It makes everybody's neighborhood better. It's better for capitalism because people have more disposable income. It's just a win-win, man. So I just don't understand the arguments against it when we can see that we can spend $1 billion a day for something that I'm still not sure what the benefits are going to end up being. I'm with it.
Yeah, it you know what? Because it's this whole socialism versus capitalism argument, right? Like that's what gets at at least that's what's used, I think, to a large degree to kind of shoot down this notion. When you talk about universal health care, what label immediately gets slapped on it, by the conservatives and those who are against it? Socialism. That's what you want. That's what you want. Socialism in that form of thing. You want the government to take care of you. Like that mentality is very strong and prevalent among a lot of Americans, and they can't see past that small thinking to see the bigger picture that you talk about, that a healthier nation is a more productive nation, is a mentally better, sharper nation than a nation full of sick people who are ruined by medical bills or a health situation that basically takes them off of the map. Sometimes, no matter how long they've worked, you could be somebody who worked your entire life, did all the right things, and come down with a cancer diagnosis, and it wiped everything out that you worked for. And people will regard, it's too bad he or she can't afford their health. They must not have been. No, they did all the right things. It's the way this system is set up that we're all one catastrophic health situation from being to the curb. And we got to be able to at least have, and we just struggle with humanity, man. I mean, I think that's it. I just think there are far too many of us that are just cold, don't have any kind of compassion, and are like, hey, I got mine, you need to get yours mentality. There's just too much of that. And we just have too much coldness in our society, I think, to try to get to that point. And
I don't know when
it's greed.
You're absolutely right, bro. Absolutely right, 100%. And for me, it's like we got to stop letting people pit us against one another. Like, to me, the question isn't capitalism or socialism. It's how can they both work, right, to make everybody happy. And I'm gonna tell you again, you got parents out there stressed out, worried about this, worried about that, cortisol level through the roof. That's not good for the households that they're leading, in which we have the next generation growing up in. So I just really wish that my friends out there that claim to be pro-life would extend that to after you're born and all the facets of human life that we know can make you productive and healthy. And I think it's about national security. In my opinion, I can make that argument. It's about our national security. We need to be educated, healthy, well-fed, so we can compete with whatever comes in the next century. So that's just me. But again, that's progressive. That's socialism, when you care about other people and think maybe there's a way we can figure it out so it's a win-win. You can live out your capitalistic endeavors, and also we can take care of the least among us. We can do both. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I'd rather that than our tax dollars than for these wars. Like Tupac said, we got money for wars, but can't feed the poor. Like, give me a break. As long as you ciphering up money out of my hard earnings, yeah, I got the entitlement to say how I want that money spent. And, you know, the way the government has been spending our money by the trillions of dollars, like, and at the end of the day, to sit up here and say, but we can't have, you know, universal health care. We can't have all these things, everything that, you know, people have been trying to do, like wipe out student loans and everything else. Is always this backlash, like, oh, no. You know, they got us pinning us against each other, while the billionaire, uber rich class is just like, they planning, they escape to Mars and stuff, like, world blow up. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mission to Mars, or whatever the caption is. It's just like, well, they said the difference between the people with yachts and the people who don't. Like, we could leave, we could just be on the ocean. Y'all just be on this land that's burning. It's like, we got to do better. We got to be smarter, and collectively, we can't keep fighting each other over the small, minor things that really don't matter, and really look at like who's trying to control and manipulate the social settings and keep us sicker, poor, and unable to be productive. So many other conversations we could be having right now that's really developing into the future, and what our grandkids and their kids is going to have to face. And we're not even there.
Yeah, I you know, we've debated on this show a few times. Nathan is a no billionaire guy. I'm not necessarily there with him, but I do think that the reality that we don't tax people at the higher income brackets in the way that they should be taxed is, I think, ridiculous that we don't do that. And to I think it was the TNT's point, they asked for, what was it, $3 trillion to Trump for the military budget for Iran and for some other stuff, and he just asked for that. Like, I came up to you, hey bro, let me get $5. You know, that's how Trump went. Was just like, yeah, I'm gonna need $2 trillion for this. Think of what $2 trillion, like $2 trillion is just impossibly difficult for most people to fathom, like how much money that actually is, right? Like, I imagine it's an insane amount of money, which would make me say, like, what other things could we do in this country? Like, if it's that easy to get $2 trillion for the military, but why are we having such a difficult time in this country coming up with money to solve some of these other issues? I mean, just think about that. I mean, just think about how he expressed that he wanted, hey, $2 trillion, you know, like it wasn't nothing. Yeah, they want us to believe that all of these other things that you asked for that could actually help Americans are beyond our financial ability to do something about. I just don't understand how thinking people don't put that together. Like, how we continue to fall for the okie doke of, oh, we ain't got enough money to do this. Well, you got $2 trillion. You can come up with $2 trillion. We $2 billion a day to spend over in another country fighting a war that we shouldn't even be over there. Like, how easy is it? How easy is it to come up with that money? It seemed like, the way it's presented, it seemed like it's pretty easy to me.
Yeah, if you got to work, and a lot of people do. You know, most people have, you know, if you're lucky to have two parents in your family, most of the time they both have to work, and chances are they have to make a decision between uh, you know, working or paying for childcare, because their entire paycheck's going to go towards childcare. I mean, that's a huge expense for families. Maybe some of those trillions of dollars could go towards childcare.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Man, there's so much things we could do. It's just we don't have a political will to do it. And the people that want to do it don't have enough money to fight against the people that don't want to do it. And that's just what it comes down to money. And Kevin, think about this, and everybody think about how we're talking about the same thing on the city level as we on the federal level. How easy is it to get things passed and the mint send millions or billions or trillions of dollars around when they really want to do it? Now, the military budget was just an ask. We'll have to wait and see if it gets through Congress.
It better not.
So we'll have to wait and see.
You think this Congress? You think this Congress ain't gonna give him what he? When is this Congress?
I think a budget like this is a little harder for even Republicans to resist. But you're right, though. In general, I mean, this is what happens with gerrymandering. Some of these districts are so gerrymandered that it doesn't even matter what the other political party says or thinks or does. It's all about that one. In many cases, the Republican Party. Like the real race is over there. But in what you get is you get a guy like who's charismatic, who's got as much control as Donald Trump. What he says goes. And that's just what it is. He runs the Republican Party. And if he don't like you, unless you're really, 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 really popular, you're in trouble. And they all know it. And so they go along and stay along.
Here's what I don't understand about the current state of affairs. This dude is wounded, right? Like more than at any other time, maybe since COVID, right? When he completely messed that up. But I mean, Trump is essentially a lame duck in the sense of his political prospects beyond the next year and a half that he has in office are nil. And if these Republicans don't see now as an opportunity to break from him and develop a spine and try to start to go into a different direction, that just further proves what I've said all the way. There's nothing that they will stand up to him for. That's why I'm like, of course they're going to give him this budget, because there's nothing that they've demonstrated up to this point that says that on any issue, they're not going to do what he says do. And particularly as in rough shape as he's in right now. Like if there was ever a time where you could flex as a Republican and be like, hey, I'm going to break, I'm going to go over here. You could do it now because his approval numbers are low.
They've done it before, Kevin.
Huh?
They did it with the Epstein files. That was the most notable case in which Republicans went against the will of Donald Trump, and it was actually everybody in Congress except for one Republican member voted against Trump's wishes to make that law and expose the Epstein files. But generally speaking, I agree with what you're saying. But here's the thing, though, don't you think? As I sit here right now, I think that he may be a lame duck in a traditional sense, but this is not a traditional time. He's not a traditional president. And I think he's going to carry weight even if and when he leaves the White House. I think his voice and who he decides to endorse will still matter in 2030, 2032, and so on and so forth, as long as he's alive.
I don't think history going to be kind to him at all. As soon as the moment that accountability is able to rain down, it's going to be all over. And that's part of the reason why I believe many in Congress that are Republicans, because they're making money too, and these bets that they're making, like people are getting insider information. People are making money left and right, even Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying people have profit off of their inside information. And as part of it is like, if I let the ship go down, they're going to come after me too. So they have there's no benefit to, I think, majority of the Republicans to ring him in when they can. All it takes is a couple. We don't have to wait till November or, when the Democrats take control of the House and hopefully the Senate. It can happen now, but the mere fact that they won't do it, this is why they will all fall down with him. Just like in the first term, so many people went to jail. And it's like people must have forgot. Everybody went to jail. And the last one that was due to be held accountable was him. He held everything, got everything held off to the last possible moment to, like, if Trump had not won this election, he would have been knocking. He had already been convicted of the 37 charges. So it's just like people tend to forget that his pool of corruption, it takes a whole lot of people down with him, and they're going to lose their law degrees. They're going to lose a lot of everything. But right now, what we have to do is just remember the power of the people and keeping that consistency, and whatever drives people to go vote in November and in these special elections, that we just continue to do that, because the moment of accountability is in the hands of people that's going to actually hold them accountable. And I hope that they do and not flake out on it. Then we will see. We will see. And not only will he be a lame duck, but he will be a convict like he's supposed to be. And a lot of people around him, they're going to fall short right with him. Just like everything else. They can laugh now, but they're going to cry later. Pete Hegseth, all these war crimes, somebody is going to pay. And I think that's what a lot of Americans are looking for, because they are sick and tired of this, and they're sick and tired of being in a situation where we are losing day by day, financially, our standings around the world. We're losing, you know what I'm saying? And nobody is more clearer than the American people that how we're being led right now is not the American way.
Well, listen.
Get TNT riled up though before we get out of here.
Oh, okay.
On something that she said, I'm gonna get her dukes up here, because I get her dukes up. I gotta get her dukes up before we get off the air. So I want you to know what I'm about to say. I agree with everything you just said in principle.
Mm-hmm.
In practice, my fear is this, and it goes back to exactly what Nathan said about the elongating the longevity of Trump. Is my fear is if Democrats or whomever goes after Donald Trump at the end of this, if they take control of Congress, or they go after him after he's out of office, I don't think it's going to elongate his presence in politics in terms of him running again. But I do think it gives him that grievance, that thing that he can continue to use with that base of people who supports him to maintain a stranglehold over the Republican Party. Here's what I'm hopeful for our country and for our general politics in general, is that once Trump is out of the White House, that there will be a reckoning within the Republican Party between the more sane elements of that party and the more whacked out edges of the party that seem to the inmates that are running the asylum right now, so to speak. And I'm hoping that in that battle will emerge a Republican Party that's more reminiscent of a functional party that's good for the country. I think as long as Donald Trump has his mitts in that mix, it will never be, it has no hope of ever becoming that again. And I think he would just use that as a mechanism to continue to stay in the public domain. I want this dude out of the headlines. I want him out of the 24-hour news cycle. I don't want to hear from him no more. The way he stacked the court systems, and this may be cynical to me, I think there's a very high unlikelihood that people are ever going to get the kind of justice that they hope to get from him. I don't think he's ever going to spend a day in jail. I don't think he's ever going to the kind of punishment for Donald Trump that would make those who dislike him the most feel good. They're never going to get that. And chasing that is like a dog chasing after a car. You're just not going to catch it. So I would rather see Democrats expend that energy, if they get into Congress, instead of doing endless hearings and impeachments, use that power and that time to unravel some of the things that he's done, move the country forward, fix what he's damaged, instead of wasting all of your time in endless hearings that's only going to allow him to cry like a wounded dog and all of this other kind of stuff and stir up more grievance and division. Democrats, if you want to get Americans on your side headed into 2028, if you get Congress, do something. Show them that you are able to change inflation, the economy, the job situation, get gas prices down, get us out of this insane war that we're in with Iran. Whatever it is, fix what he's broken. Because I think if they focus on him, it's just going to be, we're just going to get more of the same.
Hey, we could walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't disagree, but I think highly if we allow him to just scapegoat away with everything he has done to this country, with the money, I mean, like literally tore half of the White House, everything he has done, he can't get away. We just can't let him get away with that. Like that's an insult in itself. And the money that this country lost, and you playing with this position and leadership like it's a reality show game or something. Like, are you kidding me? Like any reasonable person would have stepped down, but not him. You know what I'm saying? He's digging in deeper, he's going in harder, and it's just like he's tearing up North. He cares less about the Constitution. He doesn't need any mercy, any grace. The Democrats can do both at the same time. Really, when the Congress come in, as far as the House and the Senate, and able to, take control in that manner, that's only the accountability portion. You still got to remove the executive power. If Trump is still in office, you still got J.D. Vance. If you don't have J.D. Vance, then you have the Speaker of the House. I mean, it's still going to be until there's a new presidency as far as that leadership and being able to appoint like a new Department of Justice, Attorney General, and different things. It's accountability going to take a while, but it has to happen. It really does. And I know that on certain levels, the states can take action, but they should, because that's just to say, you can get away with this. And that's not who we are. You know what I'm saying? No one is above the law, and not even him, as much as he think he is. But I just think that Democrats really have to fight both battles. Definitely repeal all those things that he's messed up and create a new plan, a new mission. Definitely get the money out of politics, the Citizens United, whatever the situation. We have to do some real work and build it up, because he has really revealed. The only positive thing about his administration, is his presidency, is just the revealing of how weak our democracy could be and how much we can, be upended. And if we don't do anything to correct what he did, then anybody that could be 20 times worse. He's not there's young people growing up looking at him, idolizing him, like, okay, and that's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like my son, the only president he knew when he came was a black president. He came up in the Obama era. There's people growing up in the Trump era thinking this is how we do it. And that just can't be the case. So there has to be some accountability and justice in all of this, so people know, and these younger generations understand that this is not how America works.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I'm just skeptical about if you're going to get it. And I know that you said Democrats can do both. The question is, will they do both? I'm not convinced that they will do both. I'm convinced that if they go down that route, they're going to be consumed by the politics. It'll be on the news every night about these impeachment hearings, and they will get caught up in that because we've seen it before. Like I'm just not optimistic that they will do both. They can do both. Absolutely. They can do both. I'm not optimistic they will do both. And I'm also not optimistic that with the way that Trump has stacked the deck with the federal judges and with the Supreme Court, again, that the type of justice that you want is going to be obtainable. I just don't think it is, because at the end of the day, all he's going to do is go to his Supreme Court, which has already said that pretty much the president can do anything he wants to do, and you can't hold him accountable. That's what his Supreme Court has said. So even if Congress manages to do something, you think that that's not going to make its way to the Supreme Court that's going to cut him loose? So if you're saying to me that what the American people at least want to see, that it's not about the result, that it's about the effort, it's about the attempt to hold him accountable. Okay, if that's what you're saying, that it's about the effort, I get that. But I think if people are tied to a result of Donald Trump seeing a day in jail or something like that, I just don't think you living in reality, because I just don't think that that's going to happen by the way he set it up.
Let's be nice.
Listen, I really appreciate your time, everybody. And we'll be back next week for our last 2 episodes of season 2. Thanks to Phil and Lakita. Appreciate you both. Sean, TNT, appreciate you. Kevin, always a pleasure. To the audience, really appreciate you being here. Always a pleasure. And we'll be back on Tuesday and Friday of next week at 1:15 p.m. So tap in and see us. All right. Have a great day.
Real quick. I've got an interview with Greg Landsman on the 16th.
Is that right?
And I will be writing it up and putting it on my blog. And we're going to tackle a lot of the hard questions about Iran, the NDAA, Gaza, HR 58. We're going to talk about all that stuff.
You talk about Damon Lynch?
The blog.
So, you talk about Damon Lynch IV?
I will not be talking about Damon Lynch IV. I've already covered him, and don't need to talk about him anymore. But yeah, tune in to eastsideinformer.com, and I'll tackle some hard questions with Greg Landsman.
All right. Appreciate that. East End Informer. All right, Sean, TNT, Kevin, thank you so much. To the audience.